Hello everyone, and welcome to Fictional Vortex. What ifs? So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto becomes a spirit god, the ultimate Naruto. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Valley of the End. Naruto Uzumaki. Aki opened his eyes and was confused of what happened. One moment he was fighting with Sasuke as he and him clashed with the Rasengan and Chidori. He looked around as he was levitating and saw his body with a hole in his chest. This only meant one thing. He was dead. But how? His eyes went wide as he had realized he had held back. He didn't want to hurt Sasuke because of his promise to Sakura. Great. What am I supposed to do now? Asked himself. That seems to be a good question. A voice replied. Whoa. Naruto shouted in surprise, turning to see a girl behind him. Don't do that, you almost scared me to death. Well, technically you are already dead, said a beautiful blue-haired girl in a pink kimono. Naruto growled, annoyed. You already know what I mean, but that's not the point. Now who are you? Well, you're very rude, said the girl with a frown. Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose and took a breath to calm. Look, finding myself dead is not something I see every day. Cut me some slack, said Naruto. She nodded. Well, I guess that's understanding. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Botan and I'm a pilot of the River Styx. She introduced herself. Naruto was confused. In short terms, Shinigami are the Grim Reaper, Bulma said. Naruto looked in disbelief. Seriously? You're the Shinigami? Aren't you supposed to be all demonic and creepy, not a beautiful girl as Sakura-chan? Botan couldn't help but blushed at that statement. Plus, shouldn't you be wearing black and not a pink? Naruto finished. Why do people always have misconception about us? She said to herself. She sighed. Alright, since you're death. Does this mean I go to heaven, hell, or whatever you call it, said Naruto. Botan gave a nervous laugh. Well, you see, Naruto, we didn't prepare a spot for you because you weren't supposed to die, she said fast at the end, which he didn't understand. What? Naruto confused. She told him nervously. You weren't supposed to die. Naruto was now more confused. What do you mean I wasn't supposed to die? Bulma sighed. Just as I said. When you and Sasuke had charged at each other for the final time, the blast should have knocked you out, but not without you scratching his hit. I ate, she explained. Great, just great. Only I can screw up something even when I'm dead. Naruto threw his arms up. Well, look on the bright side, said Botan. What bright side? I'm dead. I screwed up. What can possibly be so bright? Asked annoyed Naruto. You do have a chance to return alive, she told him, which made his eyes wide. He closed his eyes to think. Can you tell me more? What was supposed to happen? Botan was not sure why he wanted to know, but it was no harm telling him. Your sensei, Kakashi, brings you back to Konoha, and when you wake up you wanted to become stronger to get Sasuke back. Your other teacher Jiraiya was supposed to take you on a 3-year training trip, she explained. Naruto eyebrow twitch. 3 years with the pervert? I think I'd rather stay dead, he said deadpan, making Bulma sweat drop. He looked down to see his body gone. Kakashi is already taking your body back to Konoha as we speak. Your friends were in critical condition against their enemy, but luckily the Sand sibling came as backup. Your friends will be making a recovery. Shikamaru just suffered a broken finger. Botan. Naruto felt relieved to know all his friends were still alive and silently thanked Gaara and his siblings. So how am I gonna come back alive? Asked Naruto. That's what we're gonna find out. Hop on, Botan said. Naruto jumped on Botan's oar and held onto her waist. She blushed a little, feeling a little of his muscle. Something wrong? Asked Naruto. No, everything's fine, she answered quickly as they traveled to Spirit World. Konoha. Sakura, Tsunade were at the gates waiting for Kakashi arrival. Tsunade had got done healing Choji by reversing the effect of the color pills he had consumed. It took a while, but she had found a way. Hours ago she had sent Kakashi out to help the retrieval team. Sakura was by Tsunade waiting for Kakashi. She managed to talk to her sensei before he had left, wanting to know about the situation, but all he could say was it'll be alright. A figure was approaching the gates which showed to be Kakashi. Tsunade and Sakura felt relieved, but soon as he was near the gates Tsunade's eyes went wide as she saw blood dripping off Naruto, who was carried by Kakashi. Oh Kami, please no, Tsunade begged in her head. Sakura saw the blood too dripping off Naruto. Panicking, she ran to Kakashi. Kakashi saw Sakura running to him. She stopped as she was in front of her sensei. Is he asleep, sensei? Sakura asked. Kakashi closed his eyes sadly and looked down. Yu Yu Hakusho sad song 000 to 112. Tears began to well up in her eyes. No, he can't be. There's no way. Please sensei, tell me he's asleep please. She sobbed, begged as her tears began to fall. Kakashi didn't speak for a few minutes, looking away in shame. Naruto was killed by Sasuke. I'm so sorry Akira, he said, finally looking at her sadly. This brought a shock and horror look on her. She couldn't believe it. The boy she had a crush on had murdered his teammate in cold blood. Why? Him and Naruto were like brothers. Why would he do this? No, Naruto. She screamed, fainting. Tsunade caught her while she too had tears in her eyes. She looked at Kakashi. Kakashi, take his body to the hospital morgue. I'll be there soon, she said. Kakashi, not wasting time, left. Tsunade was carrying Sakura to her parents' house and will let them know of the situation. As she walked, tears soon fell down. Why did I give you that necklace? Tsunade with regret. End song. Spirit World. Botan and Naruto had arrived in Spirit World. The sigh of Spirit was not something he did not expected. The sky where an endless pink and yellow clouds were extended to no end. Naruto could see a tower as they flew closer. They finally landed on a platform in front of two giant gates. Whoa, Naruto amazed. Botan giggled at this. Yes, it's always is quite a sight, she said. The gates had opened, they continued to walk to the tower. So you said we're meeting somebody, who? Asked Naruto. Koenma, the son of Yama-sama, she answered. Naruto stopped in his tracks. Yama-sama as in the King Yama. Naruto feeling nervous. Don't worry, Yama-sama won't be there. He only comes in a state of emergency, she informed as they headed in. Along the way, Naruto and Botan passed through humanoid creatures with strange clothes. Some had horns and were different skin color, either blue, red, gray, and many others. Botan. What are those? He said slowly, trying not to sound offensive. Those are ogres. They mostly do the administrative work here, she informed, continuing to walk. Minutes later they made to majestic door that was to the office of Koenma. The two had entered a very large room that was mostly empty except a desk with stacks of paper. There also was a big imposing chair. Naruto himself was starting to grow very nervous meeting the son of the most powerful being in existence. We are here, sir. Botan bowed, as did Naruto. But everything that Naruto was worried about was vanished as he looked up to see Koenma in the chair. He was about 2 feet tall with a silver pacifier in his mouth. He had on a tall blue hat with Junior written in black on it. What the? Are you serious? This can't be the supposed son of Yama-sama. He's barely Konohamaru's height, not to mention a toddler, no less. Naruto annoyed. I can assure you, Naruto, I may look very young but I'm far older than you think, Koenma assured him. Naruto nod. Botan said you can help bring me back to life. If only it was easy. Koenma looking down. What do you mean? Asked a confused Naruto. Tell me, Naruto, do you feel a part of yourself missing? Koenma asked Naruto. Naruto didn't understand what Koenma meant but had thought back. Yeah, I actually do. Koenma gave a sigh. I was afraid of that. Naruto was annoyed. What do you mean? The Kyuubi no Kitsune. Koenma answered. The mention of the beast that was sealed in him since birth made his body freeze and his eyes went wide. What about it? He asked. Because of your death the seal that was placed on you had sent the Kyuubi soul to the Shinigami. Yeah, I know that already, but I feel like there's more to this, he said, making Koenma nod. The Shiki Fujin was made to not only to send the Biju to the Shinigami if escaped from their containment but to merge with the person. Basically, Naruto, the seal was made to take the Kyuubi's chakra and merge it with you. Koenma informing the details. So what does that mean then? Confused Naruto. I'm getting to that. When you used the Kyuubi's chakra the first time the procedure started, it speed up the more times you used the chakra. During your fight with Sasuke, as you enter in a one-tail state, the procedure was finished. Your body is the same but has been adapted to both yours and the Kyuubi chakra, which became tied to your spirit. If we were to bring you back alive, You be dead in a few seconds again because you don't have the Kyuubi. Well, Botan is a Shinigami, so I just ask her, said Naruto. Sadly, Botan shook her head. I'm afraid it's not easy, Naruto-kun. The true Shinigami is the holder of it. He's far more older and powerful than Koenma-sama in his own right. Yamahite will not hand over the Kyuubi easily. A Biju soul is very rare, consider it's also the most powerful one, said Koenma. Naruto looked down, feeling all hope was lost, but I'm not giving up. Can you take me to Yamahite? Maybe I can try to make a deal with him, he said. Botan looked worried at Naruto. Koenma gave Naruto a serious look. Are you sure, Naruto? If this fails, there's no possibility of me bringing you back. You'll be condemned to pain and agony for thousands of years, pain like you have never experienced before, Koenma said. Naruto didn't hesitate and nod. Very well. Botan escort Naruto to Yamahite. As you wish, Koenma-sama. She bowed. Let's go, Naruto-kun. Botan leading Naruto. Not too long, both had made it to a majestic gate that lead to Yamahite realm, Ushinoreta Tamashi no Tochi. Land of lost souls. Naruto had immediately felt many aura from behind the gate. The screams of horror, pain, agony sent chills down his spine. His mind was saying run away, but his heart stood strong. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Botan a little nervous. Naruto not changing his mind nod. Don't worry, Botan-chan, trust me. He gave her a grin. He looked at the gate and took a breath. The gates opened and he felt a powerful dark aura. He made his way through the gates as they closed behind him. The place looked like a foggy wasteland. Bodies were hung from dead trees. A small blood river ran down the ground. Bodies were floating and some were being eaten by vultures. Naruto felt sick to his stomach but kept it in and continued to walk. Few minutes passed by as he still continued to walk till he stopped and felt an ominous aura behind him. He slowly turned around to see a huge figure. It wore a white cloak and a Japanese straw hat that had a black kanji for Shinigami with tags around with ancient writing. It also had a huge naginata on its back and a tanto on its hip. The figure looked up as its eyes glowed red. It also had white long spiky hair while the mouth was covered by the cloak. This was the true Shinigami, Yamahite. He spoke in a cold tone. Who are you? Naruto felt fear coursing through his body but spoke. Naruto Uzumaki, saying his name. You feel familiar. Your spirit feels the same as the two that reside in me. Naruto was confused by this as he knew the Kyuubi he was talking about, but who was the other one? Ah, now I see. Your spirit is similar to the one that has recently now resides in me. The boy who was touched by me, the Shinigami, and lived. Of course, you were a toddler, so I don't expect you to remember. What do you want, Gaki? Naruto ignored the last comment. I need the Kyuubi back and I need it back now. Yamahite stared at the boy and gave a chuckle. And tell me why you want it? Questioned Yamahite. Koenma-sama said my body needs the Kyuubi so I can be brought back to life, said Naruto. Why should I allow you to cheat me again, and to deprive me of my precious prize? What makes you so worthy for you to be resurrected? Because we both know there are far worse people in the living world and I'm sure we can make a deal. Naruto said. This now interested Yamahite. A deal, you say? He thought about for a few minutes. Yes, I suppose we could make a deal. Yamahite agreed. You're familiar with a man named Orochimaru? Yes. Naruto nodded. Orochimaru has been dodging me for many years, switching bodies from bodies. I was close to killing him as I was summoned by an old man. Gigi, Naruto said, surprised. As I took half of Orochimaru's soul, I felt many other souls as if 100 of them were merged into one. Some of these souls were evil but almost all were pure. This was something I could not stand for this insult. He looked at Naruto. The deal is you must kill Orochimaru. Yamahite said, shocking Naruto. Why me? You're the powerful Shinigami, why can't you do it? Questioned Naruto. Because Gaki, my power have limits if I were to go to the human world. If I am summoned I retain all my powers when I cross from my realm to yours. Naruto understood and didn't question this. So do we have a deal? Questioned Yamahite held its hand out which was pale gray with sharp long nails. Naruto shook hand with the Shinigami. Deal. A powerful crimson ball of light started to form in front of him and it soon grew to the size of a soccer ball. Staring at it, even though not making contact, Naruto can feel the negative and powerful feeling from the energy ball. Leave, Naruto heard. He looked up seeing Yamahite gone. Naruto stepped forward. As his hand touched the orb it felt cool like it was familiar with him. Grabbing it he felt a power he has never felt before. This was incredible. He shook his head to focus back as he turned to leave. Koenma's office. Naruto, Koenma and Botan sat around a table looking at the orb. It's strange of how something that looks so beautiful can be dangerous. Botan said. Koenma nodded. Yes indeed. I heard many stories about its power and now I don't doubt it. Naruto continued to look at the orb. How are we gonna do this? Asked Naruto. Before we get to that I have a proposition for you Naruto. Koenma said. Naruto looked up from the energy ball. I must explain something to you first. As you know demons do exist and I'm not talking about the bijus, I'm talking about real-life demons. Between the demon world and the living world a barrier was made to keep them out, but it seems some of them managed to slip through. I decided then to find someone who can stop these demons. Only ones who were worthy would become my spirit detective. Koenma. Spirit detective. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Think of it like Koenma is your cage and will be giving you missions when needed. Botan easily explained. Ooh okay. He understood. Koenma nodded thanking Botan. You show capability, skills and promising. Naruto Uzumaki, will you be my spirit detective? Koenma asked. Naruto was in thoughts. Spirit detective. If what Koenma said was true then there be no doubt a demon will someday appear to Konoha. I accept. Naruto answered. But Koenma-sama, what about Yusuke? Botan asked. Naruto was confused. Yusuke. I was getting to that. Naruto, this first time ever for me that I have two spirit detectives. Koenma walking to file cabinet and pulling a folder out. He tossed the folder to Naruto who caught and opened it seeing a picture of a teenage boy around 14 with slick black hair and a green jumpsuit on. Yusuke Urameshi. Was the same case lick. EU Naruto, but he was able to come back alive. He'll be your partner. Naruto nodded. Sir, what about the Kyuubi? How will he absorb it? Asked Botan. Koenma sighed but nodded. For Naruto to absorb it, he has to go through a process which is dangerously similar to what a spirit detective had to do. He looked at Naruto. This process, I won't lie to you, is gonna be very painful Naruto. Koenma being honest with Naruto. Naruto took a deep breath. Let's do this. He grabbed the energy ball. Holding the energy close to his body, it started to get absorbed. Once the energy faded away Naruto felt his inside on fire. He started to breathe heavy and sweat. He started to shake. His body was surrounded by red energy as he then started to thrash around destroying the table and chairs were thrown. He fell down to his knee clenching his fists and pounding the ground shouting in pain. Botan looked hurt and looked away. To see this young boy in pain was too hard for her to watch. Cone. Ma looked on with little regret in his eyes. Minute later it was done. Naruto was panting hard and started to get up slowly, which he grew to 5 feet 7. His coat fell apart from the energy heat showing his naked torso, which showed the transformation. His body was no longer had baby fat or any fat at all. He was cut clean with a six-pack abs. His arms were bulk but not too bulky. Think of Bruce Lee's body from the Big Boss. His face too lost its fat but still had the whiskers, while his hair was still the same except it was a little down to his neck. Botan blushed at his new appearance. Koenma looked at her and raised an eyebrow. Everything all right Botan? Asked Koenma, breaking her stare. Yes sir, everything's all right. Answered quickly. Aw man, that was my favorite coat. Naruto complained. Both the two sweat drop. Koenma stepped forward. Congratulations Naruto, you're officially a spirit detective. Koenma handing Naruto a gold badge with the kanji for spirit detective. Naruto took it slowly. Koenma-sama, why didn't you give Yusuke his badge yet? Asked Botan. Until he learns to respect me. Koenma said in a flat tone, making Botan sweat drop. Now then. Botan, please take Naruto back Konoha to his body. As you wish sir. She bowed. Botan will give you something for us to keep in touch. I'll be seeing you around. Naruto nodded as he left with Botan. Konoha Hospital. Tsunade was in the morgue room. She looked at the pale skin deceased of Naruto Uzumaki. She was able to close the whole wound to his chest. Her eyes were red as little tears fell. Looking at Naruto, she put her hand on his cheek. Why you? Why did this have to happen to you? It's not your time Naruto. Sob. Your friends and your Hokage need you. You promised to take the hat away. Come back to us Naruto. she cried, laying her head on his chest. This continued for a few minutes till she heard a heartbeat. She opened her eyes wide and stopped crying for a second to see if she was imagining it, but she then heard it again and again. She looked up to see his color returning back. She was stunned by this. Finally, a few seconds later, he started to groan weak and had started to open his eyes slowly, seeing Tsunade, and gave a weak smile sitting up. "Hi Ba-chan, did you miss me?" he asked. She looked like she may break down, but she hugged Naruto close and cried. This was for a few minutes till she then smacked him on the head. "Ow Ba-chan, why did you do that?" he whined. "For dying on us," Tsunade said, as then gave a kiss to his forehead. "Welcome back, Naruto." She smiled at him. He returned with a grin. 1 month had passed since Naruto came back to life. This first had the Konoha 10 confused, but what stunned them was his transformation physically. But they didn't care. They got their friend back, and that's all that matters. Jiraiya came back a week later, informing Naruto that he would be taking him for a training trip in 3 months. After a full recovery, Kakashi had went to Naruto and offered him some training, in which he accepted, learning his element, which were wind and water. He was able to learn some water jutsus from Kakashi, while Shikamaru Sensei Asuma, the only wind user in Konoha, had helped him on his wind manipulation. Tsunade had taught him the secret of using chakra for strength. He made a promise to never reveal this secret to anyone. Right now we find Naruto eating a bowl of delicious ramen. Because of his transformation, he had to change his appearance. He wore a open leather black jacket over a orange shirt with the Shodime necklace. He also had on black cargo pants with a pair of black steel-toed shoes. "Another bowl, Tsuki Oji," Naruto said, finishing his ramen bowl. "Ha ha ha ha. Coming right up, Naruto. We're glad you're alive, Naruto. We don't know what we do losing our #1 customer." Ayame, the daughter of Tsuke. Naruto gave a chuckle. "Hey, I said nothing will stop me from being Hokage." Naruto have a sheepishly smile. He heard his communication mirror go off. "Oji, you can forget about that ramen. I gotta go. I'll be sure to come back later." Naruto leaving the money and taking off in a hurry. The two blinked in confusion. Naruto ran in an alley and took out his communication mirror that Botan had gave him too. "What's up, Koenma?" Naruto said, seeing him. "Naruto, we need you down in Spirit World. It's an emergency," he said in a stressed tone. Naruto nodded. "All right, I'm on my way," he said, disappearing in Shunshin. Spirit World. He appeared in front of Koenma. By the expression on Koenma's face, this seems trouble. "What's up, Koenma? Good you showed up. We have a big problem," Koenma said, continuing. "Last night, 3 criminals broke into the king's vault, and 3 items known as the Great Artifacts of Darkness were stolen and escaped to the living world. I have already informed Yusuke of this, and be aware of these items." A screen showed on the wall showing him the items. The Forlorn Hope grants the user any wish, but the price of using it would be the user's life. The Shadow Sword will make a monster whatever it cuts. And the Orb of Bost extracts the souls of any human, even children. Naruto looked in disgusted. The screen changed to a red ogre. "Sir, we got data on the 3 criminals. Good, show us at once." Order Koenma. "Of course." First showed a red long-hair pretty boy. "His name is Kurama, and that's all we know. Somehow he's avoided all of our files." The second show Ed, a man with spiky tall black hair with a white headband. Hiei is another mystery case. No criminal record or origin unknown, though informants all described him as a real cutthroat. He's a loner. The last picture showed a big man with brown hair. "Last we got Goki, now he's your run in the male crook. 12 previous convictions, killed his last 10 pursuer, murder seems to be his hobby. It's a rough bunch, sir." "Oh yes, I expected as much," Koenma said. Botan had barged in with an angry and irate look. "You must be out of your mind." "Oh, Botan, you came?" nervously Koenma said. "Well, of course I did. Really out of your mind? It's bad enough you're sending Yusuke to find these crooks, but you're also sending Naruto too. Those pack of wolves are pushing so much tremendous amount of energy. The two will be ripped to pieces," she yelled. "Yes, I understand your concern, Botan, and the odds do seem against them, and I would have preferred to give them a smaller case, but in this situation I had no choice." Koenma. "Relax, Botan. I'm sure Yusuke and I could handle this. Besides, I'm the most unpredictable ninja for a reason." Naruto with confident. Botan looked at him. Sighed and back at Koenma. Fine then, at least give them both time to train. Naruto may have chakra but spiritual energy will be a big help for him too, and Yusuke is barely learning how to use his. How much could Naruto and Yusuke learn in less than a week? He replied flippantly. A week? They couldn't possibly cause that much damage in a week, could they? She stammered. The 3 criminals are not the problem. Koenma moaned. In a week my father returns from his vacation. Botan and Naruto eyes went wide. King Yama is coming back. She stuttered. Yes, and if we don't recover the artifacts before then, well, you know how father gets. Everything is fire and brimstone, the whole world will feel his wrath. That's why Yusuke and Naruto here must succeed even at the cost of their life. But Yusuke has potential while Naruto has skills and is resourceful. Put those two together and they can succeed. I understand, sir, I'll aid them as much as I can, said a determined Botan. Koenma nodded, then looking at Naruto. Naruto, before you go, here, Koenma tossing an eyeglass with a green frame accented by a blue tassel and a scroll similar to his village's. That's your psychic spyglass. It allows you to see through all manner of material including clothing and walls. It'll help you on your cases. In the scroll are special made spirit paper bombs really effective toward demons. Good luck. Naruto gave a 2-finger salute and left with Botan. Japan. Naruto was walking around town for anything suspicious. Botan had explained to him the advantage technology Japan had as it was different from his world. He saw a group of crowd huddling over something. Naruto ran to an alley and Chakra climbed up the building to the roof. Getting to the top, he looked over the crowd, seeing a kid being held as his eyes were dull and lifeless. Naruto then saw something coming out of the boy's mouth. This caused him to remember Koenma's word. The Bee of Bost can capture any human soul, especially children. Naruto focused back and then saw a teenage boy in a green jumpsuit chasing after the soul. Looks like my partner's on it. Naruto started to follow Yusuke jumping from roof to roof. He stopped seeing him going to a bad alley. Naruto, still following, had saw Yusuke stop, making him look up and see Goki. There he is. Naruto too out his spyglass and saw the green glow orb. Bingo. Goki left and Naruto was gonna follow, but he saw a man behind Yusuke stopping him. Hey kid, you got some cash for me? Sorry minor league, I don't have time for you. Fired back Yusuke. 3 more men approached him while one of them chuckled. Wrong answer. Yusuke irritated. Well, don't say I didn't give you guys fair. He punched one of the thugs in the face hard. Warning. He shouted and started to kick the crap out of them. Naruto was amused and had a feeling him and Yusuke would get along. Naruto looked and saw Goki gone. Shit, he's gone. Naruto had continued to follow Yusuke when it then started to rain. Damn it, with this rain we'll lose him. Naruto cursed but had saw a green light. He took off towards it. Oh yes, this is perfect, exclaimed Hiei as he jumped around slashing. After slashing one of the trees, a small winged demon emerged from its trunk and flew for a few distance before turning back to wood and dropping to the ground. If this sword can make demons from trees, just think of what it will make from humans, proclaimed Hiei. I say we go to the next big city and carve out a Thusa. ND of them, we could raise an entire demon army. Goki chuckled. I like the way you think, Hiei. If we teach them to eat souls, I even know how we'll feed them all. The Orb of Bass. Pulling the artifact out and laughed. Yes, and then once the moon is full we can use Kurama's weapon to take complete control. Hiei added. Kurama stepped out of the shadows at Hiei's statement. Sorry, I must withdraw from this alliance, he said. What? Exclaimed Hiei and Goki. Surely you're not backing out once we've gotten this far, shouted Hiei. Yes, answered Kurama calmly. Ward, your years of hiding yourself in this human world have made you just like them, spineless and ready to be walked on. Hiei ranted. I don't give a damn if he leaves, but he's got no right to eloot, so just give us the pretty little mirror. I can't, I have a great need that requires its ability. Kurama replied. All right then. I'll punch it out of you. Goki swung his fast only to stop as he was interrupted. Excuse me neighbors, declared Yusuke. Naruto bit his lip to not laugh. Yup, him and Yusuke would get along just fine. The group turned to see Yusuke entering the clearing holding a branch. Couldn't help but notice there's no rain falling here. Maybe the next time you guys go stealing some magic toys you should hide where it's not so obviously sunny, just a tip," he stated. "Who are you and how do you know about the artifacts?" demanded Hiei. "Give us your name," commanded Goki. "Oh thank you, hoped you asked. Hello boys. He EXCL. Aimed Yusuke, tossing the branch aside dramatic fashion. "The name is Yusuke and I'm a spirit detective. Looks like my cue." Naruto threw a smoke bomb next to Yusuke, gaining everyone's attention. "Hope you don't mind if I join the party," Naruto said as the white smoke started to clear, showing Naruto holding his badge. "Naruto Uzumaki, spirit detective. So you're my partner Koenma told me about," commented Yusuke. "Spirit detective?" Goki questioned. "Don't worry, there's just Koenma's fools. They must be the only humans they can round up. Their spirit energy is pathetic," said Hiei in a condescending manner. "Looks like someone has a mouth. I'll be glad to shut it," Naruto retorted. Kurama merely turned around and started to walk off. "Hey, where are you going?" questioned Yusuke. "Sorry, I don't have time to be arrested." Disappearing in the forest. "Stop Kurama, you can't just walk out on us," demanded Hiei as he jumped and had disappeared. Naruto luckily left a clone following them in case if any of them escaped. "I guess that just leave the big tough stupid one," Naruto stated, making Goki growl. "Ah, how rude of them just to leave the party when it's just getting started." "So much for manners," joked Yusuke. Goki laughed. "Don't worry boys, I'm much more polite than those two. I'll gladly turn myself in if I can't rip your heads first." "Sound like a good deal. Just don't pull my hair," remarked Yusuke. "Yeah, and easy on the coat, I just paid for it," added Naruto. "You guys are riot. Hold on just a second, I need a little pre-snack," said Goki as he pulled out the orb. "Bastard," Naruto hissed, seeing 3 souls in the orb. "I love this little orb, never have to cook anymore. People don't realize how hard it is to eat human souls." Goki pulled out a soul. "You've got to cook the human so he tastes good, but not enough to kill him. This thing takes all the guesswork out of it, pulls M from the body. Still alive, so all you get is a good clean soul." "Is that the little kid I found earlier?" questioned a shocked Yusuke. Naruto fist clenched as they popped. "They're the best," laughed Goki as he swallowed the soul. "Monster. Spit him out," yelled Yusuke as he charged and ran his knee into Goki's gut, causing him to spit out the soul. Naruto charged and gave a good uppercut, sending down Goki, causing him to drop the orb. "And that's a knockout. Nice punch by the way," commented Yusuke. "Thanks," Naruto said. They watched the soul of the little boy flying back to its body. "To be hones. Chi with you, I though this be a little harder, but maybe this will be a snap," Naruto said, picking up the orb. "Hey, no sweat, 1 item down, 2 more to go," declared Yusuke. "By the way, where did you get your badge?" asked Yusuke. "Oh, Koenma gave it to me when I became spirit detective," Naruto said, not seeing the annoyed look on Yusuke. "Why didn't I get one?" said an irritated Yusuke. Before Naruto could answer, "For humans you guys are decent, managed to knock me down." The duo turned to face Goki, who back on his feet, looking little unharmed. "What the hell, how are you still not on the ground? The both of us hit you too hard for you to be up," declared Yusuke. "Ha ha ha ha, you kick only caught me off, but your blonde friend there, now he has some strength, almost had me." Goki laughed. "That's because my chakra control still needs work. Still, I gotta thank Ba-chan later for teaching me the super strength." Goki started to growl as a red energy engulfed around him as he started to transform to his demon form. He quickly slashed Yusuke with his claws, knocking him backwards on his ass. Goku went to slash Naruto, who jumped back and tossed the orb to Yusuke. He made 4 clones surrounding him and each threw a kunai with wind chakra which only graze him. "It's no use, my skin is solid as a rock. You little punny toys won't work on me." Goki picked up a tree and swung it all around, destroying all the clones and knocking the real Naruto back by Yusuke. "Okay, maybe I was wrong about it being a snap. Man, had bastard is tough." Naruto staggering up to his feet. "Got anything besides those clones and weapons?" asked Yusuke. Naruto nodded, remembering the Rasengan. "Yeah, but I need to get up close. What about you?" Naruto responded. "Oh yeah, that spirit gun thing." Yusuke tried to gather the energy in his finger when he then remembered Koenma telling him it could only be used once a day. "Damn it, mister. Iwamoto screws me over once again, I can only use that attack once a day, I'm out of ammo. Well, it looks like we're gonna have to improvise, said Naruto. Improvise? Questioned Yusuke. Try something completely crazy and hope we can get lucky. He created 10 clones as they charged around him throwing more shuriken, but it still had no effect. Goki tore part of the tree and used it like a club and started to destroy all the clones. You can't fool me, roared Goki, bashing Naruto over the head but had poofed away. Right behind you. Naruto grabbed dirt from the ground and threw it in Goki's eyes. Gah! Yelled the demon, thrashing around. Naruto made another clone as it started to help him form the Rasengan. Once it was complete, Naruto charged and slammed it to Goki's chest Rasengan. The attack blew Goki back, leaving a scorch mark on his chest. Naruto panted. Yusuke ran up to him with the orb. Hey, alright, that was some move, commented Yusuke. Yeah, I'm good, but... Naruto looked at the claw mark on his coat. Sigh, and I just got this coat. Naruto depressed. Hey, at least we're still alive and we still got the orb, said Yusuke, making Naruto nod. Yeah, we should get going. The sooner we find the items the better. Naruto and Yusuke went to leave. Going somewhere. The duo turned quickly and were caught off guard as 2 hands wrapped around their throats, lifting them up. Yusuke dropped the orb. I've had enough of you two. You costed my meal, now I think you will be the replacement. Goki laughed, squeezing their throats. Naruto went into his pouch and tossed the kunai with a tag to Yusuke, who caught it and knew what to do. He threw the kunai into the mouth down to the throat. Goki dropped the two, holding his throat and gagging. You just don't know when to shut it, do you? Said Yusuke, helping Naruto up. Goki's body started to glow and had exploded. Yusuke and Naruto held their arms up, covered their face from the blast breeze. Looking, they saw just a scorched ground. Naruto and Yusuke fell on their ass. Gotta thank Koenma, that bomb packed a punch. Naruto said. Are you both alright? Botan rushing to them. Yeah, we're fine, just little cuts, but hey, we have the orb. Naruto said. And we got 2 more to go, added Yusuke. Congratulations boys, but I'm afraid the last 2 will be difficult. Goki was the weakest out of the 3. Well, the Idjit had disappeared before my clone would follow him, but I did manage to get something from my other clone who had followed the redhead. Naruto informed. What did you get? Asked Yusuke. Minutes earlier. As Kurama was close out of the forest, he stopped as he looked up to see Naruto sitting on a branch. Instead of attacking like Kurama expected, he asked. You seem like a good guy that doesn't like to cause or want trouble. Why join those fools? Asked clone Naruto. The only reason I joined was because I have great need of the Forlorn Hope mirror. It is a matter of life and death, said Kurama. Can you promise that whatever you have planned won't harm the innocents? Asked the clone. Yes, then I will turn myself in and deal whatever punishment deemed necessary. Respond Kurama. All right then, you have your time, but a warning, if my boss finds out this is a lie, he'll end you. The clone poofed away. A replication technique, interesting fellow, commented Kurama before he disappeared from the area. The present, no matter how trustworthy he may seem, he could still be lying to you, advised Botan. Naruto shrugged. He'd given his word and he was going to stick by it. I'd like to meet him for myself, but I trust Naruto. From what I've seen, he's a pretty good judge of character, stated Yusuke. How would you know? You've only met him today. You're just being lazy, yelled Botan. Yusuke waved her. It had been a day since they defeated Goki. Yusuke and Botan were in his room arguing about what to do about Kurama. Earlier that day, Yusuke encountered the redhead who oddly enough asked for a meeting with him. I'm going to meet with him like he asked, said Yusuke. It could be a trap, haven't you forgotten his friend who nearly ripped you two limb from limb? Countered Botan. Speaking of two, where is my partner in crime? Questioned Yusuke. Up here, spoke a voice from above his head. They both looked up to find Naruto standing on the ceiling. Don't do that, screamed Botan as she threw a book at him. He hopped down from the ceiling and dusted himself off. My control has slightly improved, but it still needs work, though Naruto. You don't need to worry so much, Botan. Yusuke, you probably noticed it when you saw him. He seemed really sad for some reason. I'll go too, and if anything goes wrong, I'll distract him while you blast him with that spirit gun. See, nothing to worry about, added Yusuke. Fine, While you two do that, I'll go and see what I can dig up on the Forlorn Hope mirror, replied Botan. Their little meeting was interrupted by Yusuke's mother. Yusuke, I've made us some dinner, she cheerily interjected, causing Yusuke to face Vault. Oh, you have another new friend besides Botan. Naruto Uzumaki, mom, just makin' sure this little punk keeps his paws of my girl here. Naruto suddenly hugged Botan from behind, she blushed feeling his muscle chest before she had smacked his head, making him hit the floor. Stop clowning around, yelled Botan. Mom, what are you doing? Next time at least knock, we were having a private conversation, yelled an irritated Yusuke. She yanked him by shirt, pleasant tone abandoned. What kind of conversation could you be having that can't involve your mother? Well, he's real shy when it comes to that girlfriend of his, started Naruto with a cheesy grin. Yusuke looked at him in horror. Yes, he wanted some dating advice for going out with Keiko, added Botan. Yusuke gave the duo a murderous glare as they escaped, while his mother launched a long rant about how excited she was about him finally taking the girl seriously. Naruto was surprised that Kurama had them meet him at a hospital. Once he took them inside, however, everything became much more clear. He introduced them to his deathly ill mother before taking them to the roof and explaining his origins as demon who planted Hi's soul in an unborn child to save his own life. After originally planning to leave the human world after regaining his strength, he changed his mind after growing to love his mother and not wanting to hurt her. He blamed himself for her illness because he was such a difficult child to handle, always feeling she was inferior. After his heartfelt confession, the doctors came and told him that his mother had taken a turn for the worse. Kurama decided he couldn't wait any longer to use the mirror. There is something you're supposed to dish out to the Forlorn Hope to make it work. Do you know what that something is? Asked Yusuke. Yes, life, answered Kurama. It figures the cost would be something like that, thought Naruto. Kurama placed the mirror down on the rooftop and knelt in front of it. Forlorn Hope, I ask that you awake from your sleep and hear my plea. Reflect my greatest desire so that you can make it true, chanted Kurama. Strange light started to emit from the mirror as it glowed and suddenly reflected an image of Kurama's mother. The happiness of this woman, is that what you desire? Questioned the mirror. It is, replied Kurama. Hey, can't you hold on second? So we can work things out, there must be some other way to do this, pleaded Yusuke. Naruto pulled Yusuke back. There's no time. He looked at Kurama. Go ahead, if I were in your shoes I'd be doing the same. Kurama nodded towards them. Thank you for allowing me to do this. To grant this wish you must give your life. Is that what you desire? Asked the mirror. If that will save my mother's life then, yes I do, responded Kurama. Then your desire shall be fulfilled, stated the mirror. Another strange light emitted from the mirror before. Sparks of lightning shot out wrapping around Kurama. For you, mother, thought Kurama as the mirror started to pull on his life energy. No, yelled Yusuke, breaking away from Naruto and kneeling in front of the mirror. Some of the lightning wrapping around him now. Hey mirror guy, the first want you to take my life instead, that way Kurama can live and still get his wish right. This doesn't make sense. It's my wish, yelled Kurama. Images of his own mother weeping from his death flashed through Yusuke's mind. Yeah, well, it doesn't make any sense for you to give your mother her life back only so she can spend the rest of it mourning the death of her son. I've seen that once before, I don't want to see it again. Suddenly Kurama and Yusuke were knocked back away from the mirror by Naruto. I should be the one to go. You two have a full life ahead of you, mirror, I'm your man, yelled Naruto as the energy from the mirror now wrapped around him. Your desire shall be fulfilled. Deck. Read the mirror as a bright white light emerged from it, enveloping the entire roof. Kurama awoke and started to get up. What happened? He looked at himself to be alive still. I'm still alive, but what about my mother? Exclaimed Kurama in a panic as he rushed inside the hospital. He soon found from the doctors that she was to make a full recovery. Botan arrived on the scene to see the two unmoving bodies of Naruto and Yusuke. Tears started to form in her eyes as she anticipated the worst. Naruto, Yusuke, get up, screamed Botan. Naruto groaned as he awoke and started to pick himself up. Yusuke rolled over, regaining consciousness, and shifted to a sitting position. You know, that was pretty dumb of me, I was trying to stop the whole sad mom thing, but I would have only made my mom sad by dying, said Yusuke. Thanks to your creativity and noble deeds I have granted the wish without taking life, called out the mirror. I'm surprised you jumped in knowing what would happen, said Yusuke. I'm a shinobi, we always take risks even if it costs our lives, and besides, Naruto Uzumaki is not ready to die yet till he becomes Hokage. Naruto with determination. To think I ever doubted you guys. You make quite the team. 2 down and 1 to go, cheered Botan. Yeah right, but I'm getting tired of bailing him out of trouble, grumbled Naruto. Hey, the gray, at Yusuke Urameshi is the star of this team, joked Yusuke. Oh no, you're the co-star and I'm the star. Who has the badge here, retorted Naruto, before they all doubled over in laughter. From his office, Koenma groaned as he observed their cheery mood. I don't see what's so funny. The next one will be 10 times harder. Hiei's got the shadow sword and he's no ordinary demon. If we don't get that last artifact back, there's no telling what my father will do. Entire cities will be destroyed, not to mention my precious backside. The clouds overhead shifted by obscuring the full moon as Hiei stood on top of the buildings at the docks on the outskirt of the city. His black cloak billowed behind him while the Jaganai opened wide, taking in everything around him under moonlight. Their mistakes were simple ones. Goki was overconfident, and Kurama's sympathy for his human prey. Hiei thought as he unsheathed the shadow sword and stared at his reflection on the blade. Well, I certainly won't make the same mistakes. My plans are too good for that. It's better this way. The other two wouldn't have the courage to use the weapons as they're intended. I will, but first, I'll kill Urameshi and Uzumaki. He leapt from his position, slashing the glowing blade as he vanished into the night. Konoha. It was daytime, sunny as Naruto Uzumaki was training by himself till his master Jiraiya stopped by. Naruto wore another black leather jacket but was reinforced with strong chakra and had the orange swirl design in the back. Underneath was a white shirt, black cargo pants and black steel-toed shoes. A 3-year training trip? Naruto asked. Jiraiya nodded. The Akatsuki won't move in 3 years, that's enough to improve your skills. So far you learned the Kage Bushin trick. Your taijutsu is a little better, and so far, you're starting to work on your wind affinity. Yeah, with the Kage Bushin's help I'm getting the hold of it, but I still need to work on my lightning affinity. And I still have a hard time breaking out of genjutsu. Naruto said. Jiraiya nodded. That's why I want to take you on this trip, plus I may know someone who can help you with the Kyuubi's chakra. He said. Naruto didn't say anything, as he remembered the talk with Koenma. Flashback. Naruto was in front of Koenma. Let me explain something, Naruto, about spirit energy. Every human being emits more body and spirit energy, but only spiritual aware people like yourself can use it. If trained and handled correctly it can be powerful to the wielder, but with you, you're a special case. It seems that when you transferred the Kyuubi's back into you, the process had changed the beast's chakra to demon energy. Because of this you'll be able to access that energy, though I wouldn't recommend using it for a while, advised Koenma. Why? Asked Naruto. Because, while the Kyuubi's chakra is now demon energy, they have a similar side effect. If your body and mind can't control and handle the energy, then it will corrupt you and your mind. The result can end catastrophic. Koenma said in a serious tone. Naruto clenched hands into a fist as he remembered the FACTS when he went one-tail state against Sasuke. But, doesn't mean you can work on your regular spirit energy, and I think I know one perfect for you. Koenma said. This now got Naruto curious. Try to make a Kage Bushin, but this time close your eyes and concentrate. Koenma told him. Naruto made a cross sign and closed his eyes, concentrating. Few seconds later he felt some kind of energy. It didn't feel like chakra. It felt warm, like it was a part of him. Kage Bushin. A blue smoke burst and a Kage Bushin had appeared. Koenma was surprised Naruto did it in one try, but he didn't expect less as Yusuke was able to use the spirit gun with no problem. Naruto looked at his clone and looked deadpanned at Koenma. It's just a Kage Bushin. He said. Kick it, Koenma ordered. His eyes widened and looked at Koenma, who had a smirk. Surprise, this is no ordinary clone. This is a spirit clone. He said. A what? Questioned Naruto. A spirit clone is the same as your regular Kage Bushin. Allows you to create a clone, but they are powered and distributed by you spirit energy. These clones are very useful. No one in your world could tell the real you since the tech HNIQUE uses spirit energy and not chakra. They can only be defeated if killed, but even so you still can gather the memories of that clone. Explained Koenma. Naruto was in awe at the explanation. That is awesome. But can I do more than clones? He asked. No, not yet. You'll still have to work on your spirit energy to do more, for now only clones. Koenma said. Naruto looked disappointed, but it was better than nothing. End flashback. He snapped out his thoughts when he heard his name. Gaki, you listening to me? Asked Jiraiya. Yeah. Sorry pervy sage, I heard you. When do we leave? He asked. In a week. I still have to gather more info and report them to Tsunade. Speaking of that, how's that super strength control going? He asked, since he knew she taught him the secret of her super strength. Instead of telling, I'll show you. Naruto looked around and spotted a big boulder and got in a stance. He charged and jumped, connecting the punch. To Jiraiya's surprise, Naruto nagged to make a small crater in the boulder. Incredible. Only in a couple of weeks he manages to get half of it down. Not strong as Tsunade, but it sure can cause major damage to special Jonins and maybe Anbu. I'm impressed. You managed to get it halfway, he said. Naruto gave a sheepishly smile, scratching the back of his head. Well, I'm going to head off to Tsunade to report. I'll be back in a week, so be prepared. Jiraiya said and shushined away. As Naruto was about to continue with his training, his communicator mirror went off. He looked around and saw no one and pulled out the communicator. He answered and saw Koenma. Naruto, we have an emergency. Yusuke and Botan found Hiei, but he has a hostage. Get there ASAP. Naruto nodded and created a spirit clone. Just practice. I got to take care of something. He looked at his watch that Botan gave him from the spirit world, which would transport him to Yusuke's world, and disappeared in a bright glow. Naruto had appeared on top of a building and saw Yusuke and Botan running. Hey guys. He jumped down. The two saw Naruto and caught up to him. Good. I was wondering where you were at, said Yusuke. Naruto nodded. Koenma contacted me. So, what does the midget want? He is holding Keiko as hostage and won't give her back unless we bring him the two artifacts, Botan informed. Naruto grit his teeth in anger. Where are the artifacts? He asked. Yusuke showed him. All right, I have a plan, he said to them as they listened. Warehouse. Naruto opened the gates as the trio stepped in and saw nothing but just wooden crates. Get out here, Hiei. I'm going to kick your ass, shouted Yusuke. The gates behind closed. Naruto looked back as his eyes narrowed and looked in front, seeing a crowd of people who okay, like they were in some kind of trance. What's wrong with them? He asked Botan. Physically they're normal humans, but it looks like Hiei is controlling their minds. Botan answered. What? Yusuke confused. The records department doesn't know about this. For him to control so many humans at once, he must possess the Jigen. Botan explained more. The Jigen, the two said at the same time. Well done, state Hiei as he laughed evilly. He emerged from the crowd of people as he flared his Jagen and holding the shadow sword. I used my powers to round them up this morning. They won't do much good against you two. But they do make for excellent scenery. That's some pimple, Yusuke said. It's the Jigen, a third eye for the spirit. Botan informed them. So, he's not just a midget but a Triclops as well. You guys get weirder every day. Naruto mocked. Hiei snorted at the comment. Fools, the whole lot of you. Normal humans would have succumbed to its power by now, but I see the geniuses in the spirit world found two nice picks. That's why I brought some insurance. Two men emerged from the shadows holding Keiko. Keiko, let her go now. She has nothing to do with this, demanded Yusuke. Not so fast. First, where are the two artifacts? Hiei countered. Yusuke pulled out the orb and mirror. Oh, good boy, now set them on the ground, ordered Hiei. Yusuke set the objects on the ground as the men let Keiko go and brought the objects to Hiei. Yusuke ran and checked on her. Finally, the orb of boss and the forlorn hope. Now nothing can stop my plans. Hiei was cut off as the objects burst to smoke and two clones emerged to uppercut him, but he had suddenly vanished. What the? He just vanished, exclaimed Yusuke. No, that was pure speed, he whispered to himself. He's fast just like Lee when he went against Sasuke Tem. Looks like one of you is smarter than I thought, but did you really think that was the full extent of my plan? Take a closer look at the girl's forehead, said a smugly Hiei who standed on a stack of wooden crates. What the hell is that? Yusuke muttered as he leaned down and found the wound on Keiko's forehead started to open. You may have her body but her future is mine. See, I struck her with the shadow sword, and once that Jagan eye opens completely, she becomes a demon, not a very smart one I'm afraid but perfect for a slave. Hiei proclaimed. Move. Botan shoved Yusuke out the way and started to use her healing powers on Keiko, stopping the eye from opening. I'll try to prevent it from opening. You two just punch his brains out. Botan said. Yes, you two better punch them out quickly, if you care about your assistant. I can feel her precious energy draining fast. Pity, her poor little body is giving all it has. Soon you'll have girlfriend who's a demon and assistants who's dead. Hiei mocked. Botan, is this true? Asked Naruto in concern. Don't worry about me, Naruto-kun, I'll stop it as much as I can. She grunted out. Botan. Yusuke in concern too. Hiei laughed, catching the two's attention, which started to piss them off. I'm glad you're both so enthused. The game will be more exciting this way. Chuckled Hiei. What game? Demanded Yusuke. Hiei showed the sword. The hilt of this sword is hollow. Contained inside is the only antidote to stop the sword's effect. If you get the sword, the girl will live. Fun, right? Smugly said Hiei. Naruto and Yusuke clenched his fist. Think of it as a game of tag. He was cut off as Yusuke vanished in a blur and Naruto disappeared in a smoke and felt a kick to the chin by the blonde, sending him up in the air, and Yusuke appeared in front of him, slamming a fist to his face, sending him back. He flipped, landing on a crate holding his cheek. The blonde somehow switched position with the crate next to me, and the other's power seemed to have increased. Not bad, thought Hiei. I see. You humans are always annoying. When someone threatens your friends, you become even harder to kill. He growled. You're beyond redemption. I swear I'll feed you remains to the stray dogs of the city. Declared Yusuke in a cold tone. Not snatching the sword back when you both had the moment of surprise will be your fatal error. I won't be so careless again. He stopped, barely dodging Naruto's punch and spinning back kick. I've had enough of your mouth. It's about time we shut you up for good. Roared Naruto, and his cage bushins charged Hiei from behind, but he again vanished. Fool, did you really think you can match my speed? Echoed Hiei's voice as he was a blur around the room. He appeared in front of Yusuke to strike him with the shadow sword, but was not prepared as a fist nailed him fast, sending him down crashing into a wooden crate. Really, is that all you have, midget? How about you jump around more? Come on. Yusuke taunted. You know I really don't tolerate beating up a physically handicapped, but I'll make exception. Naruto said, cracking his knuckles. Hiei stepped out of the crate with an anger expression. You two are starting to piss me off. Bark, bark, bark. That's all we heard from you, Hiei. Face it. There's no way to get out of this now. Naruto proclaimed. My partner is right. You started this and we're going to finish it, unless you just make it easy and give us the antidote. Yusuke added in. Hiei discarded his cloak as he stared them down. Consider this a compliment. I never transformed for a human. Now you both will know fear. He roared at the end and started to transform, with his skin turning green and many eyes started to sprout all over his body. His Jagan flared an energy and shot out, wrapping it around Yusuke, paralyzing him. Don't forget about me. Naruto jumped down for a kick, but Hiei was now too quick and had vanished. Naruto looked all around until he heard looking for me. His eye widened and turned around as Hiei sloss head him, but he burst into a cloud of smoke. Naruto was on a crate as he barely switched himself with a cage bushin. Damn it, he's faster than before. I barely got away. There's got to be something I can do to help Yusuke out. He tried to come up with a plan and heard Hiei laughing. Did you honestly think my transformation was just for show? No, my speed and strength have increased tenfold. It's useless to resist. He again vanished and appeared behind Naruto. Naruto, behind you, Yusuke shouted, trying to warn him. It's too late, Hiei said as he thrusted the sword into the back and came through Naruto's chest. Pathetic, said Hiei with a smirk, but all of a sudden Naruto again burst to a cloud of smoke. What? Hiei in shock. Hey asshole, Naruto yelled from above. and made a cage bushin, and it started to form the Rasengan, and once completed the real one charged down towards Hiei. Try this, Rasengan. He landed, creating a big impact, destroying many crates. He looked around once the smoke cleared and didn't see Hiei. All of a sudden, a sharp pain went through his stomach and saw the shadow sword blade in him and saw a smirking Hiei. I'll admit you got me close. But close isn't good enough. He went to pull the blade out, but to his shock Naruto held his wrists. He looked and saw Naruto's transformation as his whiskers became more feral and his canines were coming out. His fingernails turned to claws and finally his eyes were now blood red with a black slit. If were you, I would never underestimate me. He growled and spat blood eye. And the Jaganai causing Hiei to hold it in pain and was headbutted to the nose, sending him back, and pulled the shadow sword out along. Naruto dropped down to one knee holding his stomach and his face was back to normal. Yusuke was free and ran next to him. You alright? Yusuke asked, but then silently smacked himself for asking such a dumb question. Naruto managed to stand up on his feet holding his wound. Yeah, I'll be fine. Lucky he didn't hit anything vital. Thankfully his quick healing factor kicked in. So, it seems Hiei's eyes were merely for show. The true power is the original Jagan on his forehead. They heard from behind and saw Kurama. Kurama, they said in surprise. I came to repay you two for helping my mother. I feel you both would kill me for interfering with your battle. I'll help Botan while you concentrate on Hiei. He ran to aid Botan. We now know his weakness. But it's going to be hard hitting a moving target. Listen, I got an idea. Since it's your girl he jacked up, you'll take the shot. Naruto said. Yusuke grinned. Well, that's really nice of you. I guess I'm obligated to let you have the next one. You know it, Naruto said with a smirk. So, you still wish to throw you lives away. You're both fools. And mark my words, Kurama, you'll pay as well. Bello to recover Hiei. You'll have to get through us first. Proclaimed why. Yusuke as his spirit energy flared a little. And we're not going down so easily. Naruto doing the same. You too, your powers keep getting stronger every time you escape. He charged with the sword and looked at Naruto. I promise you will stay dead. He yelled, charging at Yusuke, aiming to decapitating him, but Naruto intercepted the blade with his kunai. Hiei countered with a roundhouse WH. Naruto blocked and threw one of his own which Hiei blocked, but Naruto didn't stop as he spin back kick Hiei in the chest, sending him back. He had thrown a kunai towards Hiei, who easily deflected it and smirked. But then the kunai was switched with a cage bushin, who gave a strong repeated kicks to Hiei's back, sending him up in the air. Yusuke, take the shot now. Naruto shouted as Yusuke had his spirit gun aimed and ready. Spirit gun. Yusuke shouted as he fired and hit Hiei, forcing him to drop the sword and carry him up till he hit the roof and then came crashing down on the ground. Yusuke fell back exhausted while Naruto too fell to, breathing hard. Yusuke was holding Keiko, applying the antidote, and soon the Jaganai had closed, disappearing for good. Yusuke was relief. Goodbye Keiko monster. She's going to recover. Botan happily said. Well, that's good news. Naruto smiled. Thanks for the help, Kurama. I owe you. Said Yusuke. It was nothing, just repaying the favor. Kurama waved off the gratitude. You two again showed great teamwork out there. I'm so proud of you both, praised Bulma. Yes indeed, but how are you, Naruto? I know no ordinary mortal can endure a stab from the shadow sword. Asked Kurama. Shit, I forgot about that. Botan, is there enough antidote left? Yelled Yusuke. No, I'm afraid not. Shrieked a panicked Botan. I feel fine guys, no need to panic. Naruto assured and showed his wound as it was fully healed. Strange, the transformation should have started by now. Stated Kurama. Who knows, maybe it had something to do with my demon energy Koenma had told me about. All in all, we got the artifacts and this case is officially closed. Naruto. Couldn't agree with you more. Agreed Yusuke as the four laughed. A week later. Naruto had decided to hang around Yusuke's world since his spirit clone was still in his world. He learned much in a week. It seems Yusuke's world was faster than his world, so basically a week is 2 days in his world. Him and Yusuke got to know each other more. He was introduced to Keiko, his mother, and his friend and rival Kuwabara, who now may have another rival. Right now, the two detectives were walking up some long stairs. Yusuke had a brown bag over his shoulder. He wore a green jacket with the collars and cuffs dark orange, Underneath he wore a white shirt, blue jeans and white shoes. Naruto had on his black leather jacket. Underneath was an orange tank top with Tsunade's necklace, dark jeans, black shoes, and finally his headband. Man, how the hell did we get ourselves into this? Questioned a frustrated Yusuke. Oh, come on, this is not that bad, said Naruto casually, walking the stairs. Not that bad. We've been traveling up these damn stairs for 5 minutes. How the hell are you not tired? Shouted an irritated Yusuke. Remember, I'm a shinobi. I travel around non-stop during missions, while you just go to 2 places, your home and school. Naruto responded. Remind me again why we're doing this? Yusuke asked, still irritated. Well, think back, Naruto said, and Yusuke did. Flashback. Yusuke's school. Naruto was sitting on top of a CAGE wearing the same jumpsuit as Yusuke, but his was orange. Info what? Questioned Yusuke. Infiltration. Basically it means going undercover, answered Naruto, making Botan nod. Yeah, I know that already. So where are we going to Spirit World? Asked Yusuke. Oh no, you'll both be staying here on Earth, of course. An old human acquaintance of Koenma is looking for 2 apprentices to teach her powers too. That will be the both of you. Botan informed the 2. Sounds boring. So who's the nice old lady? Asked Yusuke. I'm not sure calling her old lady is the smartest idea, Yusuke, AF. Tear all my Hokage looks young, but she's in her 50s and can still level half a mountain with just a flick of her finger. Looks can be deceiving, Naruto said as he remembered about the encounter with Tsunade when he went with the perv to search her. Botan nod. Naruto is right. She not just some old lady. Her name's Genkei and she's one of the greatest psychics in the world. It's been a long time since she's had 2 apprentices. But I guess she feels her end is drawing near. Most times people want to leave something behind, and for her it's the secret power. She looked at the sky, recalling the talk with Koenma. Mini flashback. Botan was in front of Koenma, was standing on his desk. There are so many people on Earth who will give anything to learn Genkei's ability, which is quite understandable considering what you can do with it. It is a powerful psychic technique that can, depending on the user, either protect or destroy hundreds of people. Koenma spoke. End mini flashback. That's what he told me. She said to them. So long story short, little man wants us to learn Genkei's powers so they won't be used by the wrong hands, or worse, right? Said Naruto, adding everything her heard. Botan pointed at Naruto, ignoring the insult. Right on the nail, Naruto, and there's more for you, Yusuke. She would have continued but had remembered the insult from Koenma to him. She put her hand over her mouth. Whoops, better leave that out. Yusuke looked at her and she tried to act not nervous. I was just going to saying how dangerous this mission will be for the both of you. She moved on quick and got serious. Spirit World Intelligence has informed me that an apparition by the name of Rondo will almost definitely be going after Genkei's techniques. Rondo, Yusuke said, and Naruto jumped down as this got serious. That's right, he's a human hunter, hiding in the shadows of the living world, waiting for prey. He's stolen the powers of 99 psychics, so far. She informed them. To Naruto, this Rondo guy sounded just like Orochimaru. If he had team up with the likes of him, that would be a nightmare to the Element Nation. When Rondo steals a technique, he manipulates it into his own style and then uses it on humans to test his new strength. Botan explained more. Rondo kills until he finds the limit of his power, and with Genkei's technique that can be a very long time. The way Botan is describing Genkei's technique must be really powerful, and who's to say if this Rondo guy escapes with that power and teams with Orochimaru? I can't let that happen. Yusuke was pondering him. All this seems like a pretty major crisis for mankind. So, let's go, said Botan. But on the other hand, it means I won't be able to do anything relaxing on this 3-day weekend. Yusuke said. Botan face fault while Naruto had a major sweat drop. Botan stood up. Mankind or vacation? She shouted at Yusuke, upset. Well, they got the same importance to me, okay? Yusuke retorted. Come on, Yusuke. Don't you want to be stronger? Besides, in the near future we may have to face even more powerful demons. I know for sure your spirit gun won't save you all the time. Naruto saying the true facts. Yusuke turned to his partner. Look, I know where you're going with this, but if you were in my shoes and seen what kind of crap I deal with every day, I think you will understand where I'm coming from. Botan had her arms behind her back pacing in front of him and looked at him. Alright Yusuke, perhaps I forgot to tell you there's a super special bonus for completing this mission. She told him. What? Asked an annoyed Yusuke. She pulled out a ticket, your very own ticket to the main event for the world battle match at Tokyo Dome. Yusuke jumped. Well, what are we doing just standing here, let's go. He shouted enthused. End flashback. Yusuke growled, continuing walking up the stairs. Stupid Botan making me say yes like that. Don't be such a downer, Yusuke. Besides, after all this, you'll get your reward and it will be worth it. Maybe suffer some body damage, but we'll be fine. Naruto trying to brighten the mood. Yusuke's sweat drop at the last paragraph. You realize if we mess this up and Rondo kills everybody, there won't even be a Tokyo Dome. Well, now you know why we have to win if you want to see your big match. Naruto smirked. Yusuke was going to argue back but didn't have anything to say and grumbled, at the least the other way I would have enjoyed my 3-day weekend. Yusuke and Naruto managed to reach they think was the top, but then looked up seeing more stair leading to the real destination and had looked all around feeling a vibe. Can you feel that? Naruto asked his partner. Yusuke nodded. I guess that's our destination. If we don't get chosen, let's pretend like this place doesn't exist. Naruto chuckled at the remark and both continued up the stairs. Once they reached the top they saw a huge crowd of fighters. Holy crap, I didn't expect this many people, he said, surprised seeing all kinds of different fighters. Haven't seen this many freaks since that comic book convention. Yusuke said. So many people have gathered here. They know practically nothing about Genkei yet they want to be her apprentice. Said a bald man. See, that tells you how powerful she is, even dogs can smell something good. Said another man. Hey, but they're all wasting their time, the screening process will be nearly impossible. Said a bald man. Yusuke and Naruto had listened to the conversation. Sounds like this may be a real challenge. Thought Naruto. Urameshi, Uzumaki. The two heard their last name being called out and to their surprise spotted Kuwabara. Kuwabara. The duo shouted and he came to them. Hey, what the heck is going on? I mean, what are you two doing here? He asked. I've been hearing many talks about Genkei and this power, so I came to check it out. Naruto said. I got good reasons. Unlike some people, Yusuke said. You think I don't? Kuwabara pointed at himself and had his arm crossed with a serious look. Okay, I'll tell you, it seems my powers to see ghost and spooky stuff has gone up greatly in the past few weeks and it's getting to where I can't even concentrate on my fighting, you know. Naruto looked interested in this and Yusuke had a skeptical look. Then I heard Master Genkei can fix up the symptoms, so I came here to pay her a visit, but look at this line. Kuwabara exclaimed at the end. His spiritual aware is really strong. Naruto thought and saw Kuwabara grabbing Yusuke by the collar, who returned a nervous smile. And for someone being unexperienced with his spirit energy, I have a feeling he can do more than just sense demons and ghosts. A gong had broken his thoughts and everyone settled down. The crowd looked as the Fusuma started to open, gaining everyone's attention. My, quite a crowd. An old voice echoed and soon a figure stepped outside. She was a short old woman wearing martial arts clothes and occasionally a purple cap bearing a kanji for master. Naruto and Yusuke were shocked at this. That little old hag is Genkei, Yusuke said in disbelief. Naruto had a serious look. Incredible, her energy is like a storm, but calm at the same time. Genkei looked all around with her yes and spotted a blonde teen who had a serious look. Impressive, to be able to read my energy. This may be interesting. All right people, I suppose we should get things started, she said. Everyone including the two detectives listened with serious looks. The first of screening test will be. She paused as everyone tensed, the drawing of lots. Everyone facefo. How is that a test? Yusuke exclaimed, questioned. Everyone must draw a lot from this old jar. She pointed at the big jar and everyone got up. Naruto got his while Yusuke and Kuwabara were about to get theirs. Calm down Yusuke, it's better this way, odds are I'll draw blank and then I can go home without Botan nagging me. If Naruto draws red, well, hopefully he can handle Rondo himself. Thought Yusuke. Damn it, I didn't come here to be Genkei's student, thought Kuwabara. The two got their lot. You did that very well. I'm impressed. Let's all open our lots now. If the paper inside is red, then congratulations. You have passed the first of today's screenings, announced Genkei. Everyone started to open their lot. Naruto opened his, and slowly pulled the paper which was red. He sighed in relief. Lucky me, I won, said both Kuwabara and Yusuke with annoyed expressions and looked at each other in surprise. Those who won please follow me, those who lost please get lost, Genkei said and turned around with a smirk. Of course. What you don't realize is that you turn the paper red yourself if you have enough spirit energy. Chuckle, it's a great trick. Two huge men appeared behind her. Hold on, said the first giant man. Genkei looked behind. We are two of the most powerful fighters, said the first man. We've come all this way because we heard you can make us greater. You can't turn us away with a piece of paper, said the second giant man. Do you not see how big we are? You have to give us a fair shot, said the first man. The only difference with larger fighters is that they're louder when they whine, insulted Genkei. Can't you blockheads understand I'm just trying to save you from embarrassment, she said with a scowl. The two men growled. I'm warning you, threatened the first man. This probably goes way beyond your comprehension, boys, but please try to pay attention. If you're really ready for my training, then why didn't your paper turn red? She questioned them. The two giants growled. I think she asking for more proof, the first man said, and they too charged at her. Everything was like in slow motion until Genkei opened her eyes, which glowed blue glow, and gave a shout, and a blast of energy blew the giants away, slamming them in the gates, and everyone was shocked at this. Naruto was too shocked. Incredible, she didn't even lay finger on those guys. I'm sure Yusuke is now interested. He looked and saw Yusuke, who had an interesting look. While my powers are getting a bit rusty, chuckle, I guess I am really getting old. She walked away. All right, red papers, follow me, she announced. Naruto walked up to Yusuke. So now you're interested. He smirked. Okay, maybe you're right about this. I can see why now Rondo wants that power now, said Yusuke. Speaking of that, have you found a reading on that guy? Naruto asked. Well, let's find out, Yusuke said as he lifted his watch, which was a demon compass, and tried to get a read, but the watch was overloading and broke. Yusuke had a nervous look. Geez, so much for trusty. Kuwabara looked over and saw the watch. Looks like you bought a crappy watch, he commented. Naruto eyes narrowed. Looks like that power was too much for the watch, but that means one thing, he's here. The trio followed the crowd. The crowd were in some kind of gaming room. Okay, this is not a normal house, Yusuke said. Maybe she just like video games, Kuwabara answered. Or maybe there's something that has do more than that, Naruto put in. Genkei was on a platform that was lowered but 2 chains. You're right about that, young man. I hope you all brought your quarters. These games will be the second screenings. A young short man asked. Please master, may I ask WH? At playing video games has to do with learning great power? Absolutely nothing really, but these are not ordinary game that you will be playing, she went to explain. The Janken game test your spirit awareness. The punching game shows your spirit strength, and the karaoke test your energy ability to adapt and grow stronger. If you cannot pass 2 out of 3, then go home quickly and don't play the other games, they're just for me. Everyone had split up into the 3 games. Kuwabara scored 129, but Yusuke had scored 155, which angered him as Yusuke laughed. This impressed Genkei. Well, that boy has the strongest of the power. With proper training he could be a powerful force, a warrior perhaps. She looked over and saw Naruto doing the karaoke and scored a 120, again she was impressed. That boy's spirit energy is strong, and it will continue to be. With the right training he could adapt to it with ease. She again. Kuwabara, who scored the highest on Janken, his awareness of the spirit world is exceptional. With his temper I'm surprised he hasn't harnessed that into a weapon yet. She looked on and saw more and more impressive fighters. I got some pretty good candidates, she smirked. Naruto and Yusuke along with Kuwabara were standing outside a forest along with 17 fighters. Naruto looked closely at the forest and didn't need to be a censor as his shinobi NCT kicked in and he felt danger, like someone or something was there waiting for them. Yusuke noticed this. Hey, you okay? He tapped Naruto on the shoulder, which broke his thinking, and looked at him with a nod. Yeah, the shinobi replied. Genkei was in front of the fighters and spoke. Now that the weak have been eliminated, the test will be far more severe. Hey, my insides feel ow. Funny one of the fighters spoke nervously. Master, the forest seems to have its own life force. A short fighter spoke. Yes, to say the least, it's known as the Dark Forest, and it's old as the human race. It has become a sanctuary for the oldest and most primitive demons. Genkei said, which caused nervousness around some of the fighters, though for Naruto this sounded like the forest of death that he went through in the Chunin exams, but with demons thrown in. On the other side of the forest is a giant tree. Make it there and you pass the test. You have 2 hours. She said, pointed up. Naruto heard 2 of the fighters cry as they ran away in fear. He couldn't blame them if what Genkei said was true. Genkei laughed. Yes, run along, I don't blame you. Even a person with the slightest of spirit awareness can feel this forest will tear you into pieces if you let it. There is some truth to what this woman says. Only those who have gone through the training should cross into these woods. It is no place for a boy, for instance. A goatee-beard fighter spoke. Naruto could see Yusuke had an annoyed look on his face when the man spoke, as he clearly was talking about him. Speak for yourself. I'm not about to get scared off by a little walk through Grandma's forest. Yusuke told Genkei. Naruto face palmed at this. He knew better than to get an older lady angry. Take it from him. Watch your damn mouth, you dumb little brat. Genkei glared at Yusuke. While his partner went off at the fighter, Naruto was looking at the forest and was deciding where to go. He felt following the middle path was the right idea, but then again, he was not the best at directions, but he hopes he's right with this one. Best of luck, I hope you don't die. Genkei spoke to all the fighters as they all took position. Ready, set, go, she shouted as everyone ran and jumped over a rope and continued on. Naruto was in front of Yusuke and soon was Genkei. I'll be waiting for you by the tree. If you're smart, you'll use your spirit awareness to find the quickest way. Goodbye. She took off in full speed, which made Naruto gobsmacked at the insane speed she had. She was probably faster than Guy. She's so fast, are we sure she is not an alien or something? Kuwabara shocked at Genkei's speed. What the hell is with her and this spirit awareness crap? Everyone knows the fastest way is a straight line. Yusuke said to his partner who was not far away. Guess I'm not the only one going that way then. Naruto said as they both continued forward while everyone either went left or right. An hour has passed since everyone had been in the forest and so far no one seems to be closer but Naruto and Yusuke, who came out of a bush. Yusuke pan ts in exhaustion while Naruto didn't break a sweat. I knew we took the right direction. Yusuke said. Even though we aren't exactly out yet, I got a feeling we are close. Naruto said as he looked around. Good. The sooner we get out, the better. Yusuke added as he walked, with Naruto following. They didn't notice 2 shadowy figures that had wings. Instincts kicking in, Naruto cled Yusuke to the ground as a huge figure swooped by them as it was trying to slash them. The hell was that for? Yusuke got annoyed with his partner's action. We're not alone, Naruto said. Yusuke was confused with this until he looked all around and noticed a swarm of bats all around hanging upside down from the trees. A few fruit bats won't be a problem for us, Yusuke said to Naruto, who shook his head. It's not the bats, he said. Look at this, brother. Humans boys wandering into our territories, what should we do? A shadowy figure hung upside down with the bats spoke. It's been many years since Raldok had the taste of human flesh. Another shadow upside down figure spoke. Naruto had his guard up along with Yusuke as both saw the first figure revealing himself. It was a humanoid demon bat. He had white hair, gray fur and red eyes, razor-sharp claws and teeth. It laughed in a high tone. The second figure revealed itself, but instead of looking humanoid, it looked more demonic. It had purple-grayish skin, dark gray fur around the face all the way around down the back, tall black horns, pointy ears, yellow glowing eyes and brown wings that were bigger than the humanoids. It stuck out its long tongue as it drooled and licked its teeth, which showed their sharpness that could tear anything along with its claws. The guys tensed at the apparon. CE of these 2 but weren't going to back down. Baldock says we shall enjoy ourselves a free dinner, declared the first bat as it flew down. Raldok agrees. The second bat flew alongside. I shouldn't have taken to the straight path. Naruto and Yusuke both with similar thoughts. It was too late to go back now. It looks like they have no choice but to fight out of this and hopefully make it on time. Naruto and Yusuke were back to back as the demons were flying and dashing quickly around them, making them like a blur. The two suffered some cuts on their arms and back. Brother. The humans are frightened to fight back. Raldok mocked and laughed along with his brother. Yes, it is a shame you cannot, but Baldock understands. The demon taunted but the guys kept their guard up. You both can give up if you can. You both can give up and be dead. Baldock vanished as he flew around and was about to swoop down to get another attack on Yusuke, but suddenly he ducked in. Naruto landed a right punch that sent the demon back and hit the tree hard. Raldok had swooped in for an attack but didn't expect Naruto to throw Yusuke in the air, where he delivered an uppercut that too sent the demon crashing. It laughed. Seems, brother, that the humans want to play before they die. They laughed before doing the same maneuver again, however a burst of smoke covered the two, in which revealed they were gone. Vanished. Raldok confused. Where they go? Baldock asked while looking around. However, what he didn't know, Yusuke was high above the air. He shouted as he ca me down and landed a devastating kick to the back that sent Baldock crashing. Raldok saw this and was about to help, but suddenly something beneath appeared in a cloud of smoke which revealed Naruto W. Ho landed a devastating uppercut that sent the demon crashing next to his brother. He looked up. How can you move faster than us? He looked up to see the detectives not happy. It wasn't too hard since you both of you have been doing the same moves for almost an hour. Naruto yelled at the end while pulling up Raldok by the scruff of his neck. But Baldock tried to speak, but Yusuke was having none of it. Shut your face, he yelled and walked forward, pulling up the humanoid bad demon by his hair. Like my partner said, we have been here for at least half the hour memorizing your stupid tricks. And we so happen to be under a time limit. We are sorry, both demons replied, and I'm so tired of the way you talk. Yusuke shouted as he prepared to wail on the demon. You read my mind, Naruto growled. The two cried out in fear. Yusuke and Naruto were finally out of the forest but still had to get up the hill. Shit, we're not going to make it, Yusuke said. Yes we are, determined Naruto as he suddenly threw him up on his back piggyback style, adding chakra to his feet. He took off in full speed, to which they arrived. They dropped to the ground, in front of the other fighters in exhaustion, mostly Yusuke. Well boys, looks like you made it just in the last second, Genkei told them as she closed her pocket watch. You were almost cutting it close, guys. What the heck took you so long? Asked Kuwabara, who was the first one to have arrived. Once regaining his breath, Yusuke spoke. You know, suddenly I'm reminded of a fortune cook. I.e. that I ate that said the straight way is not always the fastest. I hate forests, that's the last time I take a straight path. Naruto with a deadpan. Genkei was surprised at this. But listen boys. Surely you didn't go straight through the dark forest, you would have faced two lethal demons. What, you mean Baldock and Raldok? Naruto asked, raised an eyebrow. Baldock was hanging from his arm wings while Raldok was dangling from his legs, both beaten up real bad. Yeah, they were hanging out with us for a while. They were fast but not nearly as fast as Hiei. We took care of them really good though. Yusuke laughed at this. Naruto shook his head and chuckled. Genkei looked at the two. Who are these boys? Naruto chuckled more as Kuwabara grabbed Yusuke and scowled at him for most being late, which annoyed the slick-haired detective. Now then, 10 of you will follow me to the next stage, she said, and began to walk away while the rest followed. Naruto, being the loss T1 following behind, was thinking of Rondo. Everyone seems powerful in their own right, so anyone can be him except of course Kuwabara. Not long Genkei walked up some small stone steps and was standing in front of two huge gates. She whipped around looking at all the fighters with her eyes narrowed. From here on you all can forget sympathy. The final test will be a tournament between the 10 of you until one is standing. You'll fight until your opponent is dead or incapacitated, I don't care which. So now this gets serious, Naruto thought to himself. The gates open wide and everyone steps into the huge room where they'll be fighting, but there are no lights, only the one from outside the gates. The gates slowly closed from behind them, leaving the whole room in darkness. Hey, what's going on with the lights? I don't like that lady, Kuwabara said. Yeah, Grandma, what do you expect us to fight in the dark? Yusuke questioned. An area where the fighters were Ong with Genkei was shown as a lantern was turned on and she was smoking a cigarette, to which she blew smoke at Yusuke and Kuwabara, making them cough. Lucky Naruto was not next to them. Yes, you little shit, that's exactly what I expect. You must use your spirit awareness to see. Use weapons if you got them. Hide them where you like. Anything goes. The winner is the one who can walk back alive. Naruto was no stranger when it came to fighting in the darkness, but it still could be difficult. He walked over to the guys and spoke close to Yusuke. So any strategy you guys came up with? Nothing. Though Kuwabara may be on to something with our demon suspect, he's here in this room for sure. Yusuke told him. Naruto looked at 7 other fighters. Where are you, Rondo? Now before we start, you all introduce yourself and speak up. Genkei said. As the fighters introduced themselves, Naruto was surprised that one of them was a ninja. I am Feng Shen, a pleasure to meet you, spoke an elderly man who looked like a Tibetan monk with a long-sleeve red mixed yellow robe and prayer beads. His head was shaved but had a white long beard. Kuzuma Kuwabara, the worst punk in Sarayashiki Junior High. Kuwabara introduced. Yusuke Urameshi, the much worse punk in Sarayashiki Junior High. Yusuke spoke. Naruto Uzumaki, the most unpredictable knucklehead. He grinned as he used the nickname that Kakashi gave him. 10 arrows shot down, stabbing into the ground in front of the fighters. Now everyone picks up the arrow you think is pretty, that'll decide the order, she told them. Everyone got one, and the first match was between the contract killer and Kazemaru. Before the match would go, the killer asked Genkei if she would hold it against him if he turns out to be a cold-blooded killer. Young man, I am a psychic, not a saint. I'll train whoever is strongest, regardless of any moral shortcomings. Genkei said. Naruto was shocked at her response. How could she go that far to help someone who would have evil intentions with her power? But this sounded just like Tsunade. She lost someone she loved. He had a small frown and saw his partner with an angry expression. Moving on, the first match went on and started. Only seen where sparks from weapons being clashed till it then got silence for about a minute. Suddenly a blue energy wave was shown being used by the ninja to kill his opponent. That looked like Yusuke's spirit gun. Naruto was surprised and could tell so was Yusuke. Walking out the dark, the ninja had his arms as his clothes were slightly torn and sat down. So it looks like we won't be the only ones to use spirit energy. Naruto had though. That's correct. He heard a voice and recognized it was Botan. Seeing the guys bickering about something, he quietly snuck away outside and looked around until Botan appeared in the tree in her civilian clothes. Botan, what are you doing here? Naruto asked. The female Reaper jumped down from the tree, landing in front of him. Remember, I'm your guy's assistance. She smiled. More like keeping Yusuke in check. Naruto deadpanned, which got a nervous laugh from her. Jokes aside, she spoke. You're right about you and Yusuke won't be the only ones to use spirit energy. From what I can tell, what you saw Kazemaru do was channeled spirit energy through his palm. Meaning he must had quite bit of a training. Botan explained. With how much he unleashed, it was quite a lot, and he seemed tired but not dead exhausted, which means he must have more in him. I think it's best to try to save up my chakra, since it's my ace. I still got a lot to learn about more of my spirit energy. Naruto said. I know you'll have it down in no time. Botan told him with a smile that made him blush a little and returned a grin which now made her blush. They stared at one another for a couple seconds until Naruto started to smell something. You smell smoke. He turned over to his right shoulder and saw a cigarette burning on his leather coat. He cried out and brushed it off quickly. Turning around, he saw Genkei. Are you happy with disqualification? If so, stay where you are. She told him. Sorry Master Genkei. Naruto ran back in with Botan following behind while telling Genkei it was her fault. So he's Koenma's boy, and I bet that smart-ass slick brat is too. She had an interesting look. I didn't know I was attracting celebrities. The second match would be the Wandering Fighter versus Shori, who both walked straight into the dark. Everyone including Botan, who was with Naruto and Yusuke, watched. You may begin, fight well. Genkei called out. Punches, kicks and cries were all that as heard between the two fighters until a ripping sound was heard. Seconds later, Shorin walked out with some damage as he held his shoulder. Winner Shorin, Genkei declared. Naruto's eyes narrowed a little at the small fighter. Kuwabara vs. Wasashi, Genkei announced. Both fighters stepped forward and walked to the dark. Good luck Kuwabara, Naruto called out. Try not to die will ya? Yusuke told him. Don't worry, I have to beat you before I die. Kuwabara turned to Yusuke with a confident grin. Don't you both think he's a big mismatch? Botan looked worried. Kuwabara is just like me. No matter who his opponent is, he's not going down or back down so easily. Naruto said. He may not be as tough as me, but he's got determination. I just hope that'll be enough for him to survive. Yusuke added. Just got to believe in him. Naruto said. The match had started and it was not a good start for Kuwabara as he took a blow that knocked him down. Kuwabara was confused as he couldn't sense his opponent's spirit energy, but he was informed by the eye-patched man that he has the ability to mask his energy, which meant Kuwabara now was really fighting in the dark. Punches and kicks plus shouts from Kuwabara were heard, so it was not hard to tell what was happening. Be careful Kuwabara, Botan called out. Stop yelling so much, it makes it easier for you to find. Yusuke called out. Shut up Yusuke, Naruto firmly told him, which got his and Botan's attention. Kuwabara is at a disadvantage since this guy can mask his energy. I have a feeling though he is going to shift this around. Just as Naruto said that, a materialized like yellow energy sword shot from Kuwabara's hand which blocked Wasashi's strike. Everyone was shocked. Materialization, Genkei said in a slight shock. What the hell is that? Yusuke questioned. Naruto wanted to know as well. Normally spirit energy cycles through the body and is very hard to control, when his life was in danger he instinctively used his high spirit awareness to manipulate his energy into a solid object, in this case into a sword. Genkei explained. Kuwabara broke his opponent's wooden sword and slammed his energy weapon into the guy's gut, which sent him skidding deep across the ground, knocked out. Walking out the dark, Kuwabara was panting in exhaustion and held his ribs. Winner Kuwabara, Genkei announced. I told you, Naruto said with a grin. Nice job Kuwabara. He pat him. Thanks, you both better not lose. Kuwabara said. Oh please, like that'll happen. Yusuke said. On to the fourth round, Naruto Uzumaki vs. Feng Shen. Genkei announced. Naruto and the monk walked forward towards their position. Kick ass and take names, Yusuke called out. Good luck Naruto, Botan said. Naruto turned his head around and grinned while he gave a thumbs up to both. The two had entered the dark where the others couldn't see anything. Naruto looked around and saw it was completely dark, but luckily he has been a shinobi his whole life. Someone young as you has no business to be fighting in this tournament. Stop while you can if you value your life, the monk said from the dark. Sorry, but I'm not one to back down so easily, and you're not the first to threaten my life. Don't underestimate me just because of my age. I may be young, but I know what's at stake here. Very well, the monk said as he stood across from Naruto. He pulled out something from his sleeves that attached to a long chain, and it was red. He extended it a little, and once he twisted it, it popped into a weapon of some sort with razor blades going in a circle. Flying guillotine weapon from Master of the Flying Guillotine. Begin, Genkei called out. Naruto heard something coming his way, and it was so fast that he barely dodged it. He got a deep cut on the arm from the weapon. Holding his arm as it bled, he threw off his coat, leaving him in high orange tank top, and tied his wound with his headband to stop the bleeding. How did he find him? Looking around, he concentrated to see if he could get a hint of where he was. He took out a couple of spirit shurikens from his back pockets and threw them around. They followed towards the left, but all were knocked away, and again the weapon shot out the darkness and forced Naruto to bend backward. As the weapon pulled back into the dark. How is he finding me so easily, and especially with that long-range weapon? My weapon is made of a specific metal that follows the spirit energy of my opponent. No matter where you go, my weapon will follow you, the monk explained. He's no doubt a master of that weapon, but if what he said was true, then I think I may know a way around him. Spirit clone. Another Naruto materialized from the real Naruto, as now there were two. A spirit clone, a most difficult technique that requires massive spirit energy from the user. Back then even for me it was difficult. This kid is now getting interesting, Genkei thought. You go to the left, I'll go to the right, Naruto told his clone, who nodded as they split up and tread carefully. The Claw. Nay, Naruto looked through more spirit shurikens that again were deflected. The weapon came at him again, but this time he jumped up high in the air and was planning to dive for a kick, but that didn't happen. As the long weapon had swerved upwards and locked on his head, which released a net cage of some sort and sliced clean the clone's head off, which dispersed into smoke. The real Naruto got in close b. It wasn't enough as the weapon came shooting at him, which forced him to roll out the way. But suffered another cut, this time on his cheek, which bled slowly. Damn, I didn't think this old guy would be this difficult. Naruto cursed. Kuwabara, what's going on? Yusuke asked. Botan looked worried. It's not good, Kuwabara said with a serious tone as he continued. That old monk is using some kind of buzzsaw weapon that's attached to a long chain. It's coated with some kind of energy and it's following Naruto wherever he goes. The flying guillotine, Genkei said, which caught the three's attention. It's an ancient weapon that was used hundreds of years ago for assassination. It is not a very easy weapon to master. It would take someone's half their life in order to. Well, that's just great, so he's in deep shit, Yusuke said, but Genkei didn't respond, which annoyed the detective. Naruto right now was running out of ideas. He can't get close to the guy without the weapon finding him. He had one last idea that may work. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. He made 5 clones appear. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Now that's a technique I haven't seen in many years. Genkei though. UGHT. So the boy knows how to use chakra. Let's see if he can turn this around. The clones split up from every direction. One was hit and dispersed. The others were dodging as best as they could. Another was struck as it too vanished. The clones brought out kunais and threw them towards where the weapon came from. A grunt was heard as again the weapon shot out the dark and killed 2 more clones. The last 2 charged to the direction and saw spots of blood on the floor. The blade flew out and straight towards the 2. Taking the chance now, the real Naruto caught the blade with his bare hands that he added chakra to. Game over, Naruto said with a grin as he then broke the weapon. The last clone used his shoulder as a lever to jump higher. The clone coated his hand in spirit energy into the shape of a blade. Shouting, he came down and slashed his opponent, but not enough to kill, only to knock him far back into the ground. Naruto pants a little but had a smiling victory grin. Believe it. How did he do that? It's just like my sword, Kuwabara said. That's what I want to know too, Yusuke said. Just as Kuwabara, the boy had used his adapting spirit energy to form a weapon. Only this time he changed his physical hand into a spirit blade. Genkei explained. Not only that, but the more he adapts to his spirit energy, the more stronger it will get. I can see why now Koenma choose him. Naruto walked out the dark with cuts, but he ignored them as they were being healed. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki, Genkei said. Looks like you had fun. Why? Yusuke commented, which got a chuckle from his partner who jabbed his shoulder. I'm glad you're alright, Botan said. Naruto smiled at her before looking at Yusuke. Kick ass. Naruto pounded a knuckle to Yusuke, who grinned. Same as in canon. Damn, with just a cigarette. Naruto whistled. Alright kiddies, let's start the semifinals. Genkei told them, who all looked to see who would fight next. The first match, Kazemaru vs Yusuke. Huh, Yusuke taken back by this. Well shit, Yusuke. Naruto chuckled. Whoa old lady, pick somebody's head, a chance to breathe, okay? Yusuke frustrated. If you want to get mad, then get mad at the one who drew the lot, and that's you. Genkei told him. We won't still be fighting here, right? Naruto asked. That's right, she said, as the gates opened, which the sun shined brightly. Follow me. Everyone was following Genkei while Naruto and Botan told Yusuke of Kazemaru's ability. You gotta be shitting me, now I have to fight a dude who can shoot a giant energy blast out of his whole stinking palm, and my little spirit gun is all used up. We can't forget our job. There's still Rondo on the loose, Naruto said. Botan nodded. Oh yeah, that's right, Yusuke remembered. Naruto looked between the last 2 human fighters. That Kazemaru is strong, but I don't sense a tiny hint of evil intention from him. And what about Shorin? Botan asked. Naruto looked again and tried to see if he could feel anything, and he felt nothing. Just nothing. Something was not right. Why would a fighter try to train under Genkei if they had no intention of whatsoever using her powers? I don't know, but I'm sticking with Kazemaru. Yusuke said. The group had arrived on what looked like a battlefield with dead trees. This will be your new fighting ground, Genkei said to them. Kuwabara freaked out at the sight. What is it? The sight of an ancient battle, an entire army was overcome by madness. Thousands of soldiers attacked their own men, restless souls filled this place. Genkei explained. Naruto would have freaked out by this if he hadn't overcome his fear of ghosts or spirits. Shikan. Chinudon on this hillside spirit energy begins to overtake the body. It's perhaps the best place on earth to use spirit power, and so the best place for your fight. Naruto could tell Kazemaru was growing stronger. Just by seeing the blue energy glow around his body. Naruto looked at his hand and concentrated. His hand slightly glowed, but other than that he could do his spirit blade attack a couple more times. He saw the concerned and frustrated look on Yusuke's face, but he had confidence that he would outsmart the guy. And the first match of the semi-finals begin. Genkei announced. It was not long till Yusuke was getting pummeled by Kazemaru as many punches were connecting. Yusuke was of course exhausted to even block, he got knocked far back down to the ground. Don't give up Urameshi. With everything you got in one hit. Kuwabara called out. Yusuke sat up and saw Kazemaru coming in full speed and in the nick of time leaned back as he dodged a punch. He clenched his right fist and went for a uppercut but just grazed him. He flipped backward and jumped back. Damn it, Yusuke cursed. Kazemaru chuckled in a smug way but was surprised as a cut appeared on his cheek that made him bleed. Kuwabara and Botan were surprised at this. Genkei had small grin and chuckled. Naruto cursed as he knew that would have finished Kazemaru off. Kazemaru decided to use his long-range weapons and pulled out something Naruto instantly recognized, which were shurikens. Cannon for half the fight until almost the end. Yusuke was panting as he stared at the shurikens that were coming at him. Damn it. I know I'm not getting out of this alive, that's for sure. There's got to be a way to lose them. Wait a minute. He went into his back pocket and pulled out a shuriken that belonged to Naruto. He remembered taking it after his fight with his last opponent. I think he said something about adding spirit energy into this. It's my only shot. He focused his energy into the weapon. Come on, come on. A high spark of spirit energy rose from him and the shuriken had a blue glow. Grinning at this, he looked at Kazemaru. Have a taste of your own medicine. He threw the shuriken with everything he got. It was too fast for Kazemaru as it stabbed into his shoulder. Suddenly the flying shuriken headed straight to Kazemaru, who only had time to cry out. As the shuriken struck him and exploded, Kazemaru flew and fell down hard. He was barely alive but would not be getting up anytime soon. It actually worked, Yusuke exclaimed. What happened? Kuwabara asked. He used one of my spirit energy shurikens. He must have redirected the shurikens to Kazemaru, but from I can tell he must have added most of his own spirit energy into it, which must have forced the other shurikens to lock on to it instead, and you know the rest. Naruto theorized. Seems the brat is smarter than I thought. Genkei thought. The winner Yusuke Urameshi. She announced. Yusuke sighed in relief and fell on his butt. Nice job, Urameshi. Kuwabara came up to him along with Botan and Naruto. Well, it's thanks to Naruto. If it weren't for his weapon, I probably would have had my ass BBQ'd. Yusuke said. Still, it was a smart idea. Botan said with Naruto nod of agreement. But there's a problem. Naruto got their attention. Kazemaru is not the demon, I know who it is. He glanced over to Shorin. Naruto's right, if Kazemaru was Rondo he would have changed back to his original form. Botan said quietly. The trio looked at Shorin. Let's move to the second match of the semi-finals, it's not hard to guess. Kuwabara vs Shorin, Genkei announced. The two had gone to the field and stood across from one another. Yusuke called out to Kuwabara and went towards him to talk. As much as Kuwabara is a fighter, Rondo is out of his league. Botan said. Naruto didn't reply as he knew it was true. Kuwabara is too. And has learned to use his spirit energy into a weapon, but Rondo was someone who has experienced many fights. This basically would be like a Genin versus Sannin, which he hated to admit. After backing off, Kuwabara took position and Genkei began the match. Both made the move to charge, but Kuwabara landed a solid punch to the face of Shorin which sent him back to the ground. Botan and Yusuke were surprised as Kuwabara got an attack in, however Naruto and Genkei had a grim expression. This continued on for a few minutes until Shorin started to form two balls of crimson and kept throwing multiple of them at Kuwabara, who kept dodging them till he had enough and used his spirit sword as a bat to knock the flaming balls right back to Shorin, who was struck in the stomach and fell. Era felt confident that he had this in the bag, and so did Yusuke, and Botan slightly was being convinced, but not the same can go for Naruto or Genkei. It was then Shorin started to chant, which got confused looks except Genkei. I had thought I recognized that technique. The trio looked as she explained about two masters perfected the circle inferno and chant, but these persons had been dead for centuries. This proved that Shorin was no ordinary boy. Kuwabara started to get creeped out by the chant and went to finish the job, but as he was a couple feet away he suddenly shrunk, shocking everyone except Genkei. What the hell? Yusuke looked in disbelief. He was just toying with Kuwabara all along. Naruto said. Shorin grabbed Kuwabara and started to torture him. He grabbed his arm and started to squeeze it as the bones were cracking. Kuwabara begged for no more, but he ignored this and slowly broke his arm, causing Kuwabara to scream in agony. Yusuke shouted in anger. Botan covered her mouth and looked in horror. Naruto was gritting his teeth and clenching his fist in anger. Slowly a dark red energy started to surround him. Genkei saw this from the corner of her eye. Why? Yusuke told her he was going in, but she said she'll call it off. Enough, Shorin, she called out. Shorin had a satisfying smile. All right. Before he did, he began to crush Kuwabara's ribs. She said that's enough. Naruto yelled out as he threw his arm out, which shot a dark red energy arm-like claw that would have struck Shorin had he not dodged and let Kuwabara go as he was thrown and caught by Yusuke. Change him back now, demanded Yusuke. Shorin chuckled and began the chant, which grew Kuwabara back to normal. Yusuke and Botan ran to check him as his body was damaged and seemed broken. Naruto saw this and was now pissed off. This reminded him of the time when Gaara was insane and had almost paralyzed Lee. He slowly looked at Shorin, who still had a satisfying smirk. Rondo, I'm taking you in, he yelled to Shorin, who never lost his smirk. It would be unfair for you to fight me alone. Why don't you have your friend fight besides you? After all, two can be only Genkei apprentices. But I think that won't matter to either of you. Naruto turned to Genkei for her permission, who said she would allow it. Yusuke stood by Naruto and still had an anger expression. I'll take him first. Things start to heat up. You step in, he said. Naruto nodded in respect. Let the final match begin. Shorin vs Yusuke Urameshi and Naruto Uzumaki. Genkei announced. Yuto stepped back as the two stared at one another. Yusuke glowed a yellow-green color as he was recovering his spirit energy. Yusuke charged and connected a punch that glowed blue from his energy. Shorin was knocked far back, but it didn't stop as Yusuke repeated this until Shorin jumped high as Yusuke charged and stopped. Shorin sent out three huge energy-like discs that rolled on the ground, destroying anything its path. Yusuke was struck and flew back and fell. Getting back up, Yusuke charged again and Shorin repeated the attack. However, Naruto appeared with his spirit blade and man-aged to deflect the attacks, which shocked the demon. Yusuke, give me your hand. Naruto told him quickly, which he followed and was spun around and thrown towards Shorin. He was breaking through the barrier and slammed an X-arms formation into the throat and came back down to the ground with Shorin as a crack was heard. Yusuke rolled off him and was laying on his back exhausted. You alright? Naruto rushed over. Not really. Although I got him, he was not joking about the pain. Yusuke said. Thanks for the help. He fist bumped Naruto. Great job, you guys. He should be out at least for a week. Botan congratulate. Before Yusuke could make his way to Genkei, Naruto stopped him as he had a serious expression. We have a problem. He is still alive. Yusuke's eyes widened and soon a laughter filled the air. The ground started to rumble and crack. The body of Shorin fell into the fissure, but that changed as it opened again, but much wider, and rising up revealed the very demon they were looking for. Rondo. His hair was a long, bright red color, similar to Kurama's. His skin is chalk white and has an odd-looking scar on his chest that spreads across his torso. He also bears blue tribal markings on his face that resembles a spider. Naruto tensed as he felt this guy's energy. He was no joke, and he was holding back this whole time. Yusuke was barely holding himself from what Naruto could see. He pushed him back with his hand. You look like you're about to drop. I'll take care of this. Yusuke wanted to protest but he knew Naruto was right, that last attack took a lot out of him. Things go to shit, I'm stepping back in. He firmly told Naruto, who nodded, and Yusuke stood back. Naruto stood across from Rondo, who still had a smirk. He could sense the pure evilness and many of the innocent powers in the demon. Naruto glowed blue as the wind picked up hard. So I guess you'll be the first to die. I am curious about that energy. It is demon energy, yes? Rondo questioned. Naruto didn't answer as he took his stance. Did you come here to fight, or is the great Rondo is afraid? He taunted, which didn't amuse the demon. E2 charged and smashed their fist against one another, which created a small shockwave. Rondo throwed faster punches that hard Naruto blocked. He switched it to kicks, which Naruto caught and connect. Eda punched to Rondo's face that actually stung him and was thrown far away, but he landed safely. Rondo wiped his lip and saw blood and looked at Naruto. You're the first to actually make me bleed. Alright then, I know the perfect technique for you. He took a stance and released some kind of energy from his mouth that were like threads, but as he grabbed it, it materialized into a substance where it bind around Naruto. Shit, he began to feel his body being squeezed. This thread is connected to my own energy, and no human effort can sever it. Rondo informed him. Good for you, but I've been through worse. Naruto felt his body tighten. Really? Then let's try this. He spun Naruto around, slamming him everywhere, repeatedly on the ground and trees. Yusuke and Botan winced at the assault that was upon Naruto. Yusuke wanted to step in, but he still felt too drained. He was now in the air as Rondo was about to slam him down hard once again. However, Naruto cut out from high bind with his spirit blade and came down at Rondo, who was surprised. Naruto almost got him, but he jumped far back. However, he got a slash on his chest which left a bloody scar. Damn, almost had him. Yusuke cursed. Rondo looked at the scar on his chest and touched it as he felt his blood. His face had gone from shock to raging anger. That's it, no more games. He did a signature pose that Naruto, Botan and Yusuke were familiar with. The spirit gun. They all exclaimed as they saw the tip of the finger glowing red. I'll enjoy making your partner show the meaning of fear. He shouted and shot the energy, and instead of looking like Yusuke's, it was red and 5 times bigger. The attack was coming straight to Naruto. Naruto, Botan and Yusuke called out as the attack was inches away, and it connected, leaving a large explosion, and the smoke blinded the field. Once the air cleared, they saw Rondo, who looked satisfied, but no sight of Naruto, which means no. Botan fell to her knees with tears in her eyes. Yusuke couldn't believe it. He just couldn't, but it was the truth. Naruto Uzumaki was dead. Genkai sensed something and saw Yusuke's energy beginning to flare with power that burned like wildfire, which surprised her but didn't show it. Incredible. This kid's energy has not only recovered so quickly, but it's now become even more stronger than what it was before. Not taking it anymore, he charged at full speed towards Rondo. He landed a spirit punch that connected the side of his face, which pushed him far back. Quickly Yusuke drew up his finger and focused as a light blue energy ball glowed. Eat this, spirit gun. He shot the energy bullet that became the size just as Rondo's and sent the demon into a dirty pond. Yusuke fell on his knees, panting in exhaustion. Try to get back up from that, you bastard. Nice shot, Yusuke. Botan called out. The celebration was cut short as an energy pillar shot from the mucky pond. And showed Rondo, who looked a little damaged and was not very happy. You have caused me pain, for that you will die. Rondo jumped and started to beat Yusuke till he fell to the ground with him standing above the team. Your attack injured me. I barely have any energy to destroy you. Both our bodies are exhausted and our spirits are weak. But I'll still succeed because I can reduce your body and crush your puny bones like I did with your ridiculous friend. This can't be. Botan looked in horror. Just as Rondo was about to start the chant, something broke from the ground and was in the air. It revealed a slightly bruised Naruto with the Rasengan in his hand. Rondo turned around and didn't have time as the chakra orb slammed deep into his gut, which sent him spiraling through a couple of trees until he hit the ground really hard that shook the ground. Naruto landed on his feet and pants in exhaustion next to Yusuke. Next time, make sure your opponent is dead, asshole. Naruto, Botan exclaimed happily. Genkai had a small smile. the Rasengan, so he must be Jiraiya's apprentice. Genkei though. Naruto looked at the destruction path that was followed by the Rasengan to Rondo, who was knocked out. He looked at Yusuke, who slowly sat up in pants. He gave a thumbs up, which he returned. They actually did it. Botan cheered and ran to them. Genkei nod. Winner of the Genkei tournament, Naruto Uzumaki and Yusuke Urameshi. Botan cheered as she hugged the guys. Yusuke complained that he was still hurt, while Naruto laughed a little at this. Genkei was healing Kuwabara while Rondo was bound in a special rope that prevents high-class demons from escaping. I better take Rondo back to the spirit world, although he should still be out cold for a while. Botan said. Ah, that's a shame, would have been perfect for target practice. Naruto said. You should take Kuwabara, now that I finish working on him. Genkei told them. What do you mean, take him to spirit world? Yusuke questioned. No, dimwit, to his house. I've helped him make a full recovery. Genkei said. Wow, will that be one of things we'll be learning, Master Genkei? Naruto asked. Yes, I'm glad you like it, cause it's one of the things you'll be learning for the next 6 months. Genkei said. Nah, I'll have to get back to you on that old lady. First, how about my real prize? A first-class ticket to Tokyo Dome. Yusuke said with a huge smile. You still remembered that? Botan looked nervous. Well, of course, you think all this was community service. Yusuke looked annoyed. Sorry Yusuke, but you're not allowed to go. Genkei told Yusuke, who was taken back by this. She continued. The entire purpose of this tournament was to choose my students. Do you really think after all that mess that I let you have a choice about it? But what about Naruto and my ticket? Yusuke stuttered. The same applies for him as well. As for your ticket, why? Oh, you will have to have someone take your place. But the battle match. Yusuke fainted and fell straight on his back. Naruto laughed at this, as did Botan. Genkei shook her head but had a small smile. 6 months later, Naruto wore black martial art GI pants and tank top to match. He was currently doing some kata-style movements as Genkei watched him from her porch with someone. I'm surprised you never trained him a lot sooner, she said to the person who revealed to be none other than Jiraiya. I would have, had sensei not sent me around collecting information around the nations, but better late than never. Jiraiya watched as his apprentice started to throw a combination of punches and kicks followed by a slash from his spirit blade. The boy has great potential, just as your other student. Your son, to be more precise, she said to him, which got a stony expression from the Sannin. The women sighed. You will have told him a lot sooner, Jiraiya. Especially Tsunade, the both of you need to. Genkei said. Jiraiya didn't say anything as he continued to watch his student, who was almost a mirror image of his son. Years ago, Jiraiya and Tsunade had a one-night stand. It was a week after her lover Dan died. He comforted her and one thing led to another. Months later, Tsunade gave birth to Minato, but it was a big secret that only he, Genkei, Minato himself, Kushina and Tsunade knew. Even sensei didn't know. Not that he didn't trust him, but it was his pain in the ass advisors that he didn't trust, mostly Danzo. Deciding to change the subject for a later date. So the kid knows how to use spirit energy, huh? He asked. He knew about spirit energy thanks to Genkei years ago, but he could never do it since his was not strong enough. Genkei nods. Yes, and I must say he's a true genius when it comes to it. She saw Naruto doing punches. That boy will do anything to become stronger. I've never seen someone so young willing to go out tortures hell just to become stronger and protect his village and people, the same ones that turned its back on him as a child because of what he held. She spoke as she was told by Naruto about the Kyuubi that was sealed in him. Jiraiya didn't say anything about this as he stayed silent. Genkei gave a small smile. He has a good heart. Make sure he doesn't slack off, she told him. Jiraiya chuckled and nodded in agreement. Naruto stopped as he froze at a punch. He jumped up as 2 men with blue skin, red eyes and fangs popped out the ground with swords at hand, putting his Ining to use, he threw a left and right punch that shot a blue energy ball and nailed the 2 in the stomach. They fell down to the ground unconscious. Landing safely, Naruto turned to his masters. Jiraiya ran while Genkei calmly followed. You all right? Jiraiya asked his grandson. Naruto nods and then looks at the 2 unconscious men. He turns to Genkei. Sensei, is something wrong with these guys? Genkei stepped towards the man who was out cold. She noticed something coming out the mouth. It looked to be a big insect-like mosquito. The bug flew but not far as Genkei caught it and crushed it in her right hand and opened to reveal the insect. Jiraiya and Naruto looked green. "What is that, sensei?" the young shinobi asked. "That's what I want to," Jiraiya said. "They're called Makai insects. They're parasites that resort to the demon world. Anyone that is bitten by them turns into a mindless zombie, but something's different about this one," she said. "Like why it attacked Naruto?" Jiraiya said. "Exactly. It was bloodthirsty as something else was controlling him besides the insect." Genkei said. Naruto knew he needed to talk to Koenma about this, however. "Naruto." The shinobi turned and saw Botan flying in. Jiraiya would have been surprised by the ability, but he was more checking her body up to her chest. He suddenly felt a searing pain and dropped to his knees while holding his juniors. "Botan, I was just going to ask Koenma about the Makai insects." "Yes, Koenma has informed me about this. He said this will be a mission. We have to get Yusuke," Botan said. Naruto nodded as he got on the oar. He looked at Jiraiya, who recovered and spoke. "Don't worry, kid, go. I'll get back to the village and make sure this thing doesn't spread." Naruto nodded and the two had flew off. Naruto and Botan had been keeping track of a spy that somehow managed to slip through from the demon world. He changed his outfit as he now wore dark blue jeans, a orange tight shirt with a leather black jacket over it, fingerless gloves with spike studs and steel-toed boots. They managed to land somewhere nearby quietly and took the spy by surprise, knocking him out. They were greeted by an arriving Yusuke and Kuwabara. "Looks like you saved us the trouble of finding you," Naruto said with a grin that Yusuke returned. "Couldn't handle any more of Grandma's torture," he joked. "Well, I was, but until this happened." Naruto pointed out the demon. "What the heck is he?" Kuwabara asked. "He looks like he grew up too close to a nuclear plant," Yusuke said. "A spy from a place where you and Naruto will be going as your next mission," Botan told him. "Whoa, you can stop right there, Botan. I just got back going through Grandma's Hell boot camp training for 6 months. I think I deserve a vacation. Why don't you come back in 2 weeks? I'm sure Naruto can handle this himself." Yusuke started to walk away with hands in pockets. "Then I guess you don't mind everyone in the city being turned into zombies?" Botan called out. Yusuke had stopped in his tracks and turned his head back. "Does that question have a point?" Botan B. Egan. The explanation about Koenma receiving a letter from the City of Ghosts and Apparitions by the 5 Saint Beasts that demanded immediate immigration to the living world. "I don't see what all he fusses about. If Koenma is in charge, then why can't he just turn down the request, and who are these stupid Saint Beasts?" Yusuke said. "Even if Koenma does turn down the request, no doubt that so-called Saint Beasts would somehow try to force him to submit by doing something." Naruto thought. "They are 5 of the most notorious criminals in all of the spirit world. The title Saint was given to them by their followers. Years ago they were chased by a coalition of pursuers and evaded capture by locking themselves in a booby-trap fortress. Since then a whole city has formed of its base filled with vile crooks who view these beasts as gods, the City of Ghosts and Apparitions." Botan finished the tale and went to the unconscious group of people who looked like the one that attacked Naruto earlier. They saw a large bug come out of one of the men's mouth and flew, which the shinobi caught and crushed it. "Please tell me I didn't not see a bug crawling out of that guy's mouth." Yusuke looked shocked and grossed out. Botan explained the Makai insects and their purpose. Then she began to explain about the barrier that was holding back the demons and insects. "The plan is to send both of the guys to destroy a whistle that controls the insects. Without it they wouldn't last outside the spirit world." "And what if we can't beat them?" Yusuke looked at her. "I don't think I have to tell you what would happen if all the demons from that city were unleashed on Earth," Botan said with a grim expression. Naruto could already imagine not just this city but his village falling apart and all his friends being nothing but bloodthirsty zombies. "So all we need to do is defeat those beasts and destroy the whistle, and that's it," he said. "That's right, Naruto," Botan confirmed. "You would think Koenma would send us back up for this kind of mission. I mean, sure, Naruto and I have become stronger from Grandma's training, but taking on an entire city full of demons plus 5 stronger ones," Yusuke exclaimed at the end. My spirit clones have improved and I can create a lot more, but Yusuke's right, the both of us just won't be enough. Naruto agreed with his partner. What about me? Am I chopped liver? Kuwabara spoke up, which had the detective's attention while Botan was confused but tried to come up with an excuse, but Naruto stopped that when he spoke. Are you sure, Kuwabara? You faced a demon at hand the first time and that didn't end well. Naruto said as he reminded him of the Rondo incident. Look, I may not be the expert on these demons like you and Urameshi and the pretty lady, but one thing is for sure, I'm not gonna stand by and watch some demon punks take over the world, because my name is Kuwabara and I got a sword, he declared. The trio sweat dropped at this. Well, I guess we better started, Naruto said. Botan led the guys in an abandoned warehouse of some sort. They slowly watched their steps as they came down the stairs. Botan was banging around the floor. What are you looking for, Botan? Naruto asked. This is where they're supposed to put the breach in the barrier, she told him and continued. Until one of the tile floors lifted up slightly. Bingo, she lifted the floor and it revealed a green fog surrounding a dark void. You are going to give us a rope or at least a ladder, right? Yusuke asked, unsure. No, jumping down should land you safely on the outside close to the city. You know you don't have to go through with this if you don't want to, no one will hold it against you. Botan said. Oh, okay, goodbye, Yusuke happily said and was going to leave until Naruto tripped him, which made him land hard on his chin. I think she means Kuwabara. Yusuke, we still got a job to do, the shinobi detective said and walked close to the empty void. See ya on the other side. He backflipped into the hole, which shocked everyone, and ran to where he jumped. I can't believe he jumped. Botan was surprised by Naruto's action. You're not going to upstage me, Uzumaki, Kuwabara yelled down at and jumped in. Well, I guess there's no turning back now. Yusuke sighed. Suddenly he tensed as he knew he forgot something. Hey Botan, can you do me favor? He asked nervously. Botan raised an eyebrow. What is it? I forget I was taking Keiko to see a movie. So you think you can cover that for me? Thanks. He quickly jumped down. No, wait, Yusuke, Botan called out, but he was long gone. Naruto landed in a wasteland-like place where lightning struck. He looked to see the city and saw a castle. No doubt the saints' beasts are there. Not long Kuwabara arrived but landed on their faces. You guys all right? He helped them up. Yusuke BBED his face and saw they were at the right place. So this is it? He asked. Naruto nods. No doubt those beasts are there. He pointed at the castle. Soon growls and laughters were heard. Around and out the ground were multiple hooded demons that were appearing everywhere. The guys back up against one another. What are these things? Kuwabara asked. Demons, and I don't think they're here to give us a warm welcome, Naruto said. Took the words out my mouth, Yusuke said. Suddenly they started to jump or lunge at them, but the guys started to fight back. Naruto connected lefts and right kicks which sent a couple of them flying. He grabbed one and spun it around, knocking the others before tossing it to a group, knocking them down as well. He saw Yusuke was handling WL against the creatures, but Kuwabara however was being overwhelmed by the numbers of them. Yusuke tried to help, but even the numbers were catching up to him. Naruto had thought it was time to try his new move that he learned from sensei's training. He slammed his hand down and sent out a pulse of spirit energy which shook the ground. The demons stopped for a minute, until then multiple NS-like energy shot out and struck many of the demons. They ran away. Naruto sighed in relief. You guys okay? He ran to them. Yeah. What the hell was that? Yusuke questioned. A new move I managed to learn from Genkei's training. Naruto grinned. Looks like we're a bit late. A voice spoke that Naruto had recognized and looked up. In a tree, two shadow figures were seen in revealed to be none other than Hiei and Kurama, who jumped down. Kurama, Hiei, what are you guys doing here? Naruto asked. He knew Kurama was on probation but was confused about Hiei. Even that Ul Koenma knew it would take more than just human powers to kill the saints' beasts, Hiei said. By aiding in this mission, Koenma has assured us we can clean our slates in the spirit world. Yusuke chuckled and elbowed Naruto. I guess Koenma heard us complaining. Naruto chuckled and nodded. Yusuke introduced Kuwabara to Hiei, who greeted him in silence, and Kurama, who greeted him politely. Well, it's good to have a helping hand. Kuwabara said. Helping is not the right word. Hiei spoke, which caught the guy's attention. Koenma may regard us as equal, but I do not. Once inside the castle, I suggest you let us do the work. As far as I'm concerned, we're babysitting. Hiei bluntly said. Just like Sasuke. Naruto's sweat dropped at this. He would have been pissed at this statement, but thanks to Genkei-sensei's training he's learned to control his anger. Kuwabara went to hit him, but Hiei dodged it easily, making him fall down. He stood in front of the detectives looking at Yusuke. But you both are a different story. I plan to take my revenge on the both of you. He then looked at Naruto. So consider this fair warning. Naruto could feel that Hiei has gotten a lot stronger, but Yusuke still could surprisingly win. With all that training from Genkei, he could pull something out that he learned. Instead of bragging, why don't we start heading to those beasts? The world doesn't have much time left, he said and walked towards the castle. He's right, we don't have much time to delay. Kurama said and followed. The rest said nothing and followed. They arrived at the front entrance, which was a tunnel with the top having the design of a skull. This place is homey, Yusuke said. So do we just walk in? Kuwabara asked. We are putting a gambling risk if we do. But what other way can there be? Naruto said. I say we make them come out here and fight us up front like they're not a bunch of sissies. Kuwabara said. Hiei gave a mocking chuckle. Your sense of strategy is amazing, he said sarcastically. Are you talking to me, runt boy? Kuwabara shouted. Let's go, Yusuke said while getting annoyed by Kuwabara's argument. The group followed through the tunnel. They walked for a minute and found the exit, but stopped as a purple eye with bat wings appeared. Welcome to Maze Castle, it greeted them. It talks. Kuwabara surprised at this. Those who enter the Maze Castle must be triad by the gates of betrayal, the creature said. What do you mean triad? Yusuke questioned, though that was a bad idea. The creature flew back and a hidden lever was revealed in which was pulled down. The place started to shake. You just had to ask, Naruto said to Yusuke, who looked worried. Kurama looked up. The ceiling, he called out, and everyone saw the ceiling coming down, which would have crushed them had they not caught it, but looked to be struggling keeping it up. The bat creature explained. The ceiling weight and the purpose of this and why it's called the gates of betrayal. It laughed as everyone continued to struggle. Damn it, and I thought Genkei's training weights were heavy. Naruto grit out. Wait till I get my hands on that little. Kuwabara furious and lost focus just a split second, which had the ceiling come down a tiny bit more, making it harder. Kuwabara, stay focused. I ain't planning on dying today, Naruto shouted to him. At least the detective here have a brain unlike you, Hiei told Kuwabara. Oh, shut up. I bet I'm holding a lot more weight than you are, Kuwabara argued. Shut it, Kuwabara, Yusuke shouted. Well, I'm not about to die for the sake of you worthless humans, Hiei said with a tone that he would consider it. Don't you even think of considering it, Hiei, Kurama said with struggle. I will rip your heart out from your chest before you even do. Naruto growled as a red aura surrounded him, which surprisingly pushed back the ceiling, but it was not much. The bat-eye creature began to taunt all of them, wondering who would betray and be left to die. Naruto heard Yusuke talking to Hiei, saying he was fast enough. And to turn off the switch. Kuwabara of course didn't trust him, though Yusuke paid him no attention. He released all the spirit energy he has to hold the ceiling and told Hiei to go. The small On took off in a blur and was at the switch, but he didn't pull down and looked back as the group struggled. Naruto didn't like this. He should have turned it off by now. Kuwabara yelled out. I gave a small chuckle, making Kuwabara yell what he was laughing at. Take a guess, you fool. Naruto was beyond angry and was ready to shoot out his spirit chains and prepare to drag him to hell. Oot that evaporated when Hiei appeared in front of the bat and sliced a big gash in the eye. He turned off the switch. Son of bitch came through. Naruto grinned. A giant rock crashed where Hiei was. Yusuke called out in worry, but as the group ran out they saw him unharmed and was standing on top of it. Tell your masters, this is their last chance to beg for mercy, he told the creature, who screeched and flew away. Yusuke grinned. I knew you would save us, you punk. Naruto could see a tiny change in the demon, which was a surprise. The group continued on. As the guys were still walking, Naruto was thinking about these saint beasts. Botan had never given precise details about them. Kurama explained about the place. Since the barrier was put up, the spirit world pretty much forgotten its existence. How do you know that? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Let's just say that when you see their bodies you may be very surprised. Kurama said, terrified. Isn't that more like it? A deep monster-like voice spoke from the dark which caught everyone by surprise. Hey, who said that? Kuwabara asked while a little nervous. The voice had laughed all around. There is a door behind you, please. The light brightens to reveal the door behind them. They entered a stone room that was lit with torches. They slowly entered and the door behind shut closed. Naruto grabbed a torch nearby and tossed it up front to reveal a huge spike stone-like creature. The guys were shocked at the demon. Welcome, trespassers. I am Genbu of the 5 Saint Beasts. Do you have a request before you die? Yeah, tell me how a beast is a saint. I'm lost. Yusuke asked. This stairwell is the only way to the castle tower. You can either defeat me and go up on your own or be trapped there. Once you stopped breathing, he exclaimed at the end as he slammed his stone spike tail, which created a small crater. Why don't you all attack me at once, then the last one left won't feel lonely. He's a rock, guys. How are we supposed to fight against a talking rock? Kuwabara questioned. Kurama stepped forward. I will fight him. You sure, Kurama? Yusuke asked. It would be ill advice for all of us to attack without first knowing his power. Besides, I can hardly let Hiei get all the credit for this mission now, can I? Kurama said with a small smile. He continued to step against Genbu. You want to die one by one? I can do that for you. Genbu said with a smirk. Hey, don't you think it would be smart enough to lure him back down to that drop ceiling place? Yusuke suggested. Obviously you're underestimating Kurama, Hiei said, which got Yusuke attention. Do you know why I choose him to be my partner? To avoid fighting him myself, wah. He's more cutthroat than I am when it comes to battle and unbelievably precise. Both Yusuke and Kuwabara were still a little unsure, but for Naruto, he always had a feeling Kurama was stronger than Hiei. Even for the short demon to admit Kurama was deadlier than him proved it as well. The two had a stand still waiting for the first one to make a move. Naruto saw Genbu's tail sink into the ground. Kurama, watch out for his tail. Kurama quickly jumped out the way but still suffered a cut across his stomach, making him wince. He landed on his feet. Genbu explained about his Nei ability, which would make it harder in this fight. Genbu had this time sunk himself into the ground till he was completely gone. Naruto tried to sense him, but the energy was masked over, so it would be impossible to find him. Genbu popped out in front of Kurama, who easily jumped away, but from behind the stone tail was coming at him. He maneuvered this and barely dodged the attack. This continued for a couple minutes with Kurama repeatedly dodging Genbu's attack, but he knew he couldn't do this forever. Laughs echoed around the stone room. You'll never defeat me by just running away. Kurama gave a small chuckle. Yes, Genbu, I believe you're right. He flicked his long hair back, and as his hand came out, so did a rose. A flower. Yusuke confused. Now that's weird, if he's trying to win the beast over. I don't think that's a good idea. Kuwabara said. Naruto got a feeling that it was no ordinary flower, which was corrected as the rose had now transformed into a vine-like whip that had sharp thorns. Petals from the rose danced around the air. Genbu mocked Kurama's ability, and it would do him no good if he can't find him. Kurama closed his eyes and concentrated. Seconds later his eyes opened. Found you. He called out as Genbu appeared out from the ceiling. Kurama started to whip the vine around the stone demon. It's over, the thorns on Kurama's whip can slice through any substance, including solid stones, Hiei said. Rose whiplash. Kurama sliced Genbu into chunks of pieces, which surprised everyone except Hiei. Genbu questioned how he was found, while Kurama simply explained that after feeling the sweet scent from the rose aroma, it was easy to find his stench, which was the last thing Genbu heard as he died. Yusuke commented on, why couldn't his fights finish that fast? Kuwabara also commented on how Kurama beated Genbu so fast and he was a wimp. Don't be so sure, Kuwabara, remember he probably has more experience in fighting than we do against demons, Naruto said. Amazing, out of you three the blonde one has a brain, and he is corrected. If it was either of any of you, none of you would have survived. Hiei said. Kuwabara began to trash talk Hiei and bragged how he took third place in Genkei's tournament, which Hiei of course saying what was his point. Before an argument took place, Yusuke broke it up. He looked at Naruto. I guess we now go. The group was prepared to leave until Kurama stopped and spoke. It seems my fight is not done. The guys looked confused until they saw the pieces of Genbu being put together again while he was laughing. Who's beaten? He finally put his head back in place. Not me, he declared. Well shit, Naruto cursed. Guys, he's putting himself back together. Kuwabara pointed out the obvious. Genbu said that he can't be disassembled and that he can just put himself together. He began to disassemble parts of himself and were hot towards Kurama, who slashed them to smaller pieces, but it did nothing as Genbu laughed and was reforming once again. Naruto cursed again. No matter what, this guy can always put himself back together. As he again repeated shooting towards Kurama, he noticed a glowing red rock, which Kurama did too as he dodged. The pieces of stone floated in the air and came to Kurama, who decided to take the blows. Some were sharp enough to cut his arms and legs. He managed to catch something and fell down to a knee. The guys except Naruto and Hiei called out to him. Genbu commented how the blows made Kurama insane as he was not blocking. He heard the redhead demon and knew for sure he was insane as he was laughing at nothing, but something was wrong. He was seeing Kurama upside down. Wait, how did you get on the ceiling? It was revealed that Genbu's pieces were in the wrong places, but the most noticeable was his head on his crotch. The guys except Hiei were laughing their asses off with tears in their eyes. I've heard brass balls before, but come on. Yusuke continued to laugh. Talk about balls of steel. Naruto jokes, causing the guys to laugh harder. Genbu demanded to know what Kurama did to him, which he revealed from behind his back. In his hand was a red glowing rock which was like his brain that functioned his pieces. He tossed the rock in the air. You can't, shouted. Farewell. He whipped the rock, which split in two. Yellow light was shining out of Genbu and soon was destroyed, turned into nothing but rubble. Nice job, Kurama, Naruto said. Kurama fell down to his knees. The guys ran up to him. Naruto quickly used a spiritual wave healing technique that Genkei taught him. He wasn't an expert, but it would be enough to take away the pain. Hope that'll relieve the pain, he said as he finished. Kurama nodded and smiled. Yes, thank you. He managed to get to his feet. I'm sorry, Yusuke. He apologized to the slick detective. Nah, don't worry, you deserve a break, Yusuke said as he gave a thumbs up. Yeah, I'll take on the next guy, Kuwabara said. Guess that means we now go up, Naruto said. The group had continued as they made their way up the stairs. After a few minutes they decided to take a short break. How's your wound healing, Kurama? Yusuke asked. I'll be fine thanks to Naruto's healing technique. But I'm afraid I'm still in no condition to fight the next beast, Kurama said. Which means we're down to 4 fighters, and one of them is useless. Kuwabara of course thought he was talking about himself, which made the duo detectives sweat drop. Kuwabara began to show what he's been training. His right hand started to glow and suddenly his spirit sword was formed. Naruto was surprised at this. Seems Kuwabara was getting used to his spirit energy if he could form it without that wooden object. Kuwabara had expanded his sword, which again was impressive. He turned his sword off, and before he got to brag he suddenly fell down. Naruto immediately checked on him. Kuwabara, you shouldn't be showing off like that. Yes, your sword is impressive, but from what I can tell that expanding drains you fast. Yusuke face palms himself and shook his head. His communicator mirror beeped and saw it was Botan, who informed that time was running short as she found a batch of the Makai insects next to elementary school. Before she could speak more she panicked and ran from a man who was under the Makai's influence. She made it in a building basement and locked it, but it didn't last as the controlled man broke through but was hit in the head by Botan's bat, knocking him out. Nice shot, Naruto said as he saw this from behind Yusuke. Thank you, but you guys have to hurry. The communication cut short as a loud roar shook the area and the ceiling was falling slightly apart. Kurama's eyes widened. That's Byako and he doesn't sound very pleased. Naruto turned to lock back as the ceiling was falling apart due to the roar. Let's move it. He ran. You heard the man, Yusuke said as he too ran, followed by Kuwabara, Hiei and Kurama. They barely did out the room but continued to follow up till they were outside and saw their opponent when lightning struck. Everyone was shocked by this but Hiei didn't and just said tiger. The second be asked was a huge humanoid tiger with mane-like sea green hair that flows down to his back, light bluish fur with gray stripes on his arms, cheeks and legs. He had two bottom canine teeth that were long enough to each his cheeks. Yellow eyes with red pupils. He was wearing a toga that appeared to be leopard skin along with leg warmers. Intruders will pay for coming this far into my territory. Bayako snarled out and roared. It's huge, Kuwabara said with nervousness. It's a pity they don't have him in a zoo. Yusuke said. And here I thought I wouldn't have to deal with another pain in the ass cat. Naruto said as he recalled his capture of Tora aka Hellcat. I'll take him, Hiei said with a small smirk which was lost as Kuwabara intervened saying he already called it. He tried to act tough but backed up as Bayako roared as he said Genbu was weak and was only useful cause of his ability into the castle walls. That's why they didn't kill him, but he himself is a real beast. He has been caged for too long. Without prey, without bones, without blood, until now he will feast on the humans along with Kurama and Hiei. He roared loud which started to destroy parts of the place. The group were now standing across a bridge like stone. It was long way down as Naruto saw nothing but fog. Bayako said he will send all their weak bodies to the ground and they'll be long broken before they even hit. Kuwabara decided he had enough and went to fight but Yusuke of course was trying to talk him out of it but was shoved away. Naruto knew Kuwabara wouldn't listen to him. He could only hope that he wouldn't lose. As Kuwabara declared to fight Bayako, the tiger demon laughed at this which pissed the teen off. He said that he could shred him to pieces with just the hairs on him. Kuwabara didn't believe this but that was proven wrong when Bayako took 4 strands of his hair and blew it which flew around Kuwabara and went into the air. Suddenly 4 huge figures dropped which were monstrous beast creatures. Kuwabara stared in horror. Bayako explained that the creatures were a small part of himself. One of the monsters lunged at Kuwabara who was caught by surprise and was slashed in the shoulder. Yusuke called out to Kuwabara but he ignored it and called out his spirit sword which formed. Bayako was a bit surprised at this but said it would not help him for survival very long. Kuwabara charged at a monster when one was coming at him but as he swung, the beast jumped high and came down slashing him in the back. Another passed by slashing him against the chest, sending him slightly back. Get your back against the wall. Yusuke yelled out. He would be cornering himself if he did. Naruto sternly said. Kuwabara continued to swing high. Spirit sword but was taking many slashes from his shoulder, arm and leg. Many of the beasts were just attacking him from behind, front, left and right. Yusuke yelled out saying there's no way he could beat them if he kept swinging his sword around. Kuwabara heard this and knew Yusuke was right. It hit him. He's right, Kuwabara said and quickly turned around and ran back to the guys with the beast chasing after him. There you see in the end the fool runs away, Hiei said with a little smug tone. He won't make it, Kurama sadly said. Don't worry, I'll go as soon as he screams for help. Yusuke said. Guys, Naruto called to them who looked at him as he smirked. He's not running away. Everyone was confused until they turned and saw Kuwabara who called out his SW. Or to get longer and suddenly the swords all stabbed through the beast's mouth making them like shish kebab. Everyone was surprised at this. Kuwabara said swinging was wrong so he needed to stab and at them together but Bayako laughed at this and said they were still a part of him and just needed more energy. He exclaimed at the end as the beast's fur turned to a crimson color and charged at the surprised Kuwabara who ran back to the guys and started to go circle. Do you think he knows he is going in a full circle? Hiei mockingly asked. Suddenly as Kuwabara's came around the lock the speary blade together trapping the beast in a circle. I say yes, Naruto said. Bayako was furious at this, his own prey mocking him. He cannot allow this disgrace to continue. He roared really low. Ood and Lightning stuck behind them and saw the way they came along with the beasts were gone. Kuwabara confronted Bayako who decided to go up front and landed in front of Kuwabara who attacked as he dodged a punch. Kuwabara seemed to have the upper hand as he kept dodging Bayako attacks and striking with his sword. Kuwabara backed off a bit as he panted. Naruto noticed this and looked at Bayako, who didn't even look injured or tired. Something's wrong. Yes, Hiei said. What do you mean? Yusuke asked Naruto. Look at them closely. Naruto told him, which Yusuke did. Kuwabara has been laying out the attacks, but from the looks of it, it seems he has instead. His size. Kurama said as the others saw Byakko was growing bigger. I see now. Look at his spirit sword. Yusuke saw this. It's getting smaller. Naruto said. Byakko explained that he had been feeding off Kuwabara's spirit energy as it attacked him. Naruto knew this was bad. If it was him, his chakra could have finished him with no problem. Kuwabara declared that he's not backing down and had added more of his energy into his spirit sword, which grew to normal again. He charged while Byakko came at him. Kuwabara thrust the sword into the mouth of the beasts. Suddenly Byakko started to drain the energy from the sword until Kuwabara felt faint and fell down. Byakko thanked him for the spirit energy, and eating all of it nearly made him full. Kuwabara, however, slowly got back to his feet, saying he was not done. He tried to use what energy he has left, but only had enough to mock a spirit-like dagger, to which he was soon kicked by Byakko, who was ready to devour him. I'm not so sure if I can crack jokes about this. Kuwabara is really gonna get killed now. Yusuke looked worried. No, there is still a way. Kurama said, which surprised the detectives. Well then say it. Yusuke told Kurama. Byakko bodies stop expanding halfway through that attack. That indicates vulnerability. Kurama explained. So, he does have a weakness. Naruto said. Don't give the boys hope, Kurama. Hiei told him. I'm simply saying there is a chance. Kurama said. Yes. Kurama, maybe if you were the one fighting, but that fool will never be able to see it. Hiei bluntly said. You're wrong. Naruto said, who continued to watch the fight as the rest looked at him. Just watch. He simply said. Byakko lifted Kuwabara by his uniform and punched him, which sent him to the floor. Kuwabara looked at Byakko, who was approaching him, but he noticed that the demon's energy was acting weird, like it was straining to stay inside him, like he doesn't have space. Kuwabara acted quickly and dodged Byakko's claw. He charged and stabbed the sword in Byakko, who laughed at this. Kuwabara, don't be stupid. Kurama said there is still a way to beat him. Yusuke called out. Kuwabara's energy finally gave out as his sword vanished and he fell face first. Kuwabara. Yusuke looked with concern. You filled me up so much with your energy, I don't think I have room left to eat your body. Oh well, I'll just crush it into pieces for later. Byakko lifted his foot up as he was prepared to end Kuwabara. Yusuke was about to use his spirit gun till Naruto stopped. He did it. He said, which confused the slick detective. He's right, look. Kurama pointed to Byakko as they saw him slightly shake and was groaning. Kuwabara awoke and chuckled as his plan worked. Byakko was confused until Kuwabara explained, like his sister always says. It's not good to eat too much food. Byakko tried to go after Kuwabara but stopped as lightning crackled around him as yellow energy sparked around him. Few seconds later he exploded and was enough to knock him off the tower. So Byakko had a limit of the amount of energy he can contain in his body. Naruto said. Yes, that's right. With the amount that Kuwabara fed him, it was only a matter of time. Kurama said. Sounds like an awful case of gas if you ask me. Yusuke joked and laughed. Kuwabara yelled at Yusuke to be quiet as he concentrated and said that he was trying to inhale the fuses it had. His spirit energy, but Kurama said that it had already returned to his body, making Kuwabara chuckle in embarrassment and said he can never be too safe. Naruto's communicator went off and pulled it out and opened it to reveal Botan. Naruto, please tell you have already defeated 4 of the 5 Saint Beast. She asked. Whoa, wait minute Botan, are you serious? We're barely just passing the second one. These guys are no joke. If it had been anyone else they would have been killed off easily. Naruto said. I understand and I'm sorry Naruto, but there's not much time left. The city is starting to lose its grip. The mayor declared a riot alert, thinking these people are just insane. So far the police had detained most of those taken over by the Makai, but it won't be long till the police are affected as well. Damn, I guess we better not delay then. Naruto said. Before Botan replied, she was cut off as the screen went black for a few seconds till it resumed her again. Sorry Naruto, looks like we both are busy. See y'all later Botan. Kuwabara was quickly right by Naruto as he grabbed the communicator, but she hung up. Way to go, man of the year. Yusuke laughed at Kuwabara, who told him to shut up. Well, shall we go now? Kurama suggested, but suddenly a familiar roar caught everyone's attention. You gotta be shitting me. Naruto said. He's alive, Kurama said, and the platform started to give crumble. Everyone ran to the other side before it collapsed. They heard a laugh and turned to hear Byako still alive and said he was inviting them into his lair, his room of hell. What if we say no? Naruto said. Byako gave a chuckle. You don't want to say no. Just lead the way, Byako. Kuwabara called out. The group came across huge metal doors that opened and immediately could feel the heat that was coming out of the end of the tunnel. Oh, that's great, now we're walking into a preheated oven. Yusuke said. Who cares as long as it leads to Byako? Kuwabara said. Okay, you go first. Yusuke shot back. Come on guys, we don't have time to waste. Naruto said as he walked past them and was leading the group. Up until they came across a lava pit room that had pillars that were also balancing stone platforms. Give me a break, guest room of hell wasn't just a clever name. Yusuke said as the group looked at the bubbling lava. Lava, Naruto said. Kuwabara tore a part of his uniform and tossed it into the lava, which instantly burned to a crisp, making the teen look nervous. We better not fall into that, guys. A fine view, isn't it? It's my private chamber. I come here to play. A laugh was heard and they saw none other than Byako, but shockingly he was back to normal. No way, he's back to normal. Kuwabara was the most shocked out of everyone. Monster, you just pissed me off. Yusuke aggressively said. As you can see, the lava in this room will burn anything it touches to a crisp. So who has the courage to challenge me? Byako challenges them. I'll take you on here, pussycat. We're in a hurry, so we have no time for games. Naruto stepped forward, but a hand stopped him and saw it was Kuwabara's. Hey, leave him to me, Uzumaki. Kuwabara told him. Naruto wanted to say no immediately as they were in a hurry, but he can see the determination in Kuwabara to finish Byako once and for all. He sighed and nodded. Try to hurry, we don't have much time left. Naruto said to him, who nodded. Byako yelled as he was getting impatient with them. Kuwabara sighed. It was time to finish this once and for all. He jumped down on one of the stone platform, but as he did, the edge of it cracked and Kuwabara fell. Kuwabara. Both the detectives yelled, but to their relief he still hung on and pulled himself up. Kuwabara took his top uniform off and readied his spirit sword and called to Byako he was ready, but the demon said he was ready to use a new attack. He started to power up as his energy crackled around him and was roaring. He suddenly grabbed his throat as a green-yellow energy was forming in his mouth. This doesn't look good, Naruto said. Byako shot out a huge light green ball that was coming at Kuwabara, who was prepared to knock it back with his spirit sword, but Kurama shouted he must not touch it and to get away. Reacting in time, he jumped off where he was standing and onto another stone platform. He saw where he was once standing being vaporized to nothing but ashes. Hey, my jacket, Kuwabara called out. Byako explained it was his tiger scream. Anything that it touches turns into a pile of ashes. For years I have heard of a fighter who can destroy monocular bonds with the vibration of his voice. I never thought I'd meet him. Hiei said. So now basically his sword will be useless in this situation. Naruto said. Yes, if he tries to hit it, it will cause a chain reaction and destroy his spirit. Hiei said. Kuwabara stared where he used to be and knew he was in trouble. Byako taunted him that he could only run. He began to shoot out multiple attacks, to which Kuwabara was dodging as he jumped on platforms after another while they were being destroyed. He stopped and looked at Byako and bragged that he was too fast, but it was a mistake as another tiger scream was coming at him. Again he barely dodged as he again continued to jump on different platforms. As he jumped on one, he was hit by 3 claw-like attacks, but Kuwabara regained his stance. Damn it, Kuwabara, switch with me. Yusuke called out. It's no use, Yusuke, Naruto said. Kuwabara gave a small smirk. You're not so bad. Byako chuckled. You surprise me, still fighting despite your frail human body. Get used to it, cause I'm not stopping till you die, Kuwabara declared. Byako said that was noble, but the truth was he had him where he wanted as his tiger scream was too much. Kuwabara was confused about this until Byako pointed that he had destroyed every pillar within reach except the pillar he was standing on, but even if Kuwabara did make it he would kill him. Kuwabara noticed a SMA. LL pillar close to him that Byako must have overlooked. Byako had asked once again for Kuwabara to choose the way to die. Be burned up in the lava or be eaten. Kuwabara looked frustrated and lightly moved close to the pillar, but just before he went to jump on it, Byako destroyed it, which made him step back as he now had nowhere else to go. Byako gave Kuwabara one last chance, but the teen smirked and ran forward. He's gonna jump, Kurama said in shock. Kuwabara, Yusuke yelled out. Naruto hopes that Kuwabara knows what he's going to do. Byako laughed as he lied about making it to where he was, but unfortunately for him Kuwabara had expanded his sword and used like a vault and came down at Byako with a hard right punch that sent him off the platform. Kuwabara gave a smirk and chuckled as he said at least he got to hit him and was ready to join him in hell. Suddenly a familiar spirit chain wrapped around his waist and stopped him from falling. Confused why this he was suddenly being pulled up on the platform, which was a big relief. He turned to see Naruto, who had a smirk and a long chain coming out his hand. Kuwabara couldn't help but laugh at this. He did it. Yusuke looked in disbelief for a few seconds and started to laugh. All right Kuwabara. Hiei didn't say anything and just tch. Kurama gave a small chuckle. The guys were now on the other side with Kuwabara, who was still panting in relief. Thanks Uzumaki. He appreciated. Naruto nodded with a small smile, but it turned serious as he looked and saw stairs which would lead to the third Saint Beast. Come on now, we don't have time to spare, he said as he along with the others running up the stairs. Everyone was still running up the stairs, but as they got to the end they were surprised to see many doors. You gotta be joking with me, Yusuke said as he looked all around. It appears we found a maze in Maze Castle, Hiei said. Of course there would be one of these. Naruto deadpanned. Kurama told the group to be aware and told them of a legend about hundreds of bounty hunter looking for the beast. None of them succeeded but only caused the beast neigh. Veer left their tower, so anyone entering the castle would be forfeiting their life to the maze. There were 15 doors, all but one leads to a dead end. There were deadly traps in the incorrect ones, which means a poor choice will seal their fate. The guys looked nervous till Yusuke spoke to Kuwabara, telling this is all his. Kuwabara began to concentrate as he looked at each door until he spotted one that was the second to the left. It had a big feeling like the two beasts. The second door to the left. He said to them, "You heard the man," Yusuke said. "How do we know he's not making a mistake?" Hiei questioned. Kuwabara went to the door and told Hiei it was maybe not his thing but to trust him on this, something big behind the door. When he opened it he came across a mice which scared him and backed up and fell. Naruto's sweat dropped at this while Yusuke laughed. The group had now stood in front of a blue gold gated door that had two blue dragon statues. Lightning struck. Are we supposed to be scared? Hiei questioned. Perhaps, that is the mark of the blue dragon, and judging by the odor the beast is inside. Kurama said. Yeah, and he doesn't feel very nice. Kuwabara added. The group heard a rattle. The doors opened which released a fog. The group made their way inside and the door behind shut. This fog's alive, Kurama. Must be a form of spirit energy coming from our beast's body. Hiei said. You have done very well to come this far, but I shall no longer allow you to disgrace my master. A cold voice spoke. Where's that voice coming from? Kuwabara questioned. Must be through the fog. Come on out now, dragon. This entire hide and seek is getting old. Naruto said. And lame. Yusuke put in. Lightning crackled and a powerful spirit energy appeared and blew the fog away, causing the group to shield their face and saw a tall slim man with pale green skin and black facial hair. He wore a dark blue cap, blue martial art robe with it tied by a large white strap. An image of a dragon wrapped around his shoulder. Damn, he's tall. Naruto shocked at the man's height. The man introduced himself as Seryu and he was there to end their lives. Well, he's no dragon but he is ugly. Yusuke scowled. Seryu told him it was not wise to say things to their executioner. Before he continued he sensed a familiar presence. It appears we have another guest. He looked annoyed. They heard the noise coming from behind and saw the doors open to reveal an alive but hurt Byako, who pleaded with Seryu to help him and rambled about the group, tricking him into his lair and hid their true power till the end. I knocked that guy into the lava. Kuwabara looked frustrated. What does it take to kill this guy? Yusuke questioned. A lot apparently. Naruto said. Seiryu called Byako a weakling, and how dare he dishonor them further. Byako pleaded, but Seiryu didn't listen and got in a stance, pulling his right arm back. Ch glowed and his energy surrounded him in a circle. Byako pleaded with his life, but Seiryu had a sinister grin. Ice Dragon, he shouted, and he punched his right arm out, which blasted a powerful breeze that froze the humanoid tiger. The group was shocked by this. He's frozen, Kuwabara said. Seiryu jumped in the air and came down with a kick that shattered Byako except his head. He began to explain the group of his ability. You heartless bastard, how could you kill off your own friend? Yusuke questioned in anger. Seiryu Byako spat blood. Seiryu said he was no friend, and just like a cheap sword he rusted. He spat at Byako head, who died. A tear was shown at the corner of his eye. Naruto saw this and clenched his right fist so hard that it popped, and he looked at the man in anger. Kurama explained that the race of beasts has no loyalty. Alliance were only stricken to gain power, nothing more. I don't care what kind of race they are, it's never right to kill your own teammate, especially when they come asking you for help. Kuwabara, this guy pushed us too far, he's dead. Naruto declared. Save your anger. He heard Hiei and looked at him, who looked a little angry. You can take the next one, I insist this fight be mine. He said with no argument and stepped forward. So you shall be first, Hiei. Seiryu said. Both stared at one another. Hiei's eyes turned to the headless frozen Byako, whose face froze in fear and some sadness. Hiei took his cloak off and threw it aside as it covered Byako's head in respect. Seiryu chuckled. What was that? Tell me you're not feeling sympathy for this amateur. From your action of the Gate of Betrayal, I was hoping you had more of a warrior spirit. Hiei didn't say anything as he glared and got in his stance and started to channel his spirit energy as it surrounded him. Seiryu told him that it was not too late to join and that his leader would give him power beyond what he tasted. I didn't reply for a second, which worried the group until he spoke. Is that all you have to say? Seiryu was confused. Their last words, you know. Hiei smirked. Seiryu didn't like the swirl and powered up and blasted a huge breeze of fog that Hiei cut down with his sword as it split in two and destroyed the walls behind the guys. Seiryu again went into position and blasted his ice dragon, but Hiei with his incredible speed dodged this. He apologized that he forgot about his impressive speed, so he tried again, this time more faster, but Hiei kept dodging. The whole room slowly started to turn into ice. The ice unfortunately caught up to Hiei as his right leg was frozen. That's not good, Naruto said. What do you mean? He's alright. Yusuke looked confused. No, he's right. Hiei's leg is frozen, he won't be able to run away anymore. Kurama said. Seiryu said no one escapes, only beg for mercy, and with Hiei's leg frozen he won't be able to move. Seiryu started to power up his attack, and as he punched out his attack, Hiei stabbed his sword down and used it to leap himself towards Seiryu, who knew he had him. Suddenly it happened in a flash which shocked everyone as Hiei's right arm and left leg froze. The group looked worried at this. Seiryu chuckled. So you have escaped, but you are wounded. Hiei laughed, which confused him. Why are you laughing? Hiei stood up and turned to the man. So what if your ice trick can kill your wounded friend? It won't kill me. He clenched his right arm, which shattered the ice along with the ones on his legs. Iryu said that was impossible and that he would give one final blow. Unfortunately that was never to come, as blood trickled down from his forehead, which confused the man. I don't think so. Was the last thing he heard from Hiei as his vision split vertically. The guys saw as the man started to crack. He screamed as he vanished in a swirl of cold fog. When did he attack? Kuwabara asked. Yusuke laughed and ran to Hiei. I didn't blink and still couldn't see it. Naruto said. Don't feel bad you guys, I couldn't see it either after the initial hit. Kurama said and ran behind Yusuke along with the others. You made French fries out of that guy. Yusuke commented. Hiei, how many times did you cut him? Kurama asked. Only 16. Hiei said. Naruto gave a whistle. Nice. If we do fight next time, I'm sure that'll be trouble for us. He laughed. Maybe. Hiei said and walked away, which confused the guys as he didn't reply with a remark. Kurama though explained he was going through a tricky and appears to like both the detectives, which got little smiles from them. Once the group was ready, they left to face the fourth beast. Naruto and the rest. We're running across a bridge and came across a huge golden door. Our fourth beast is definitely in there, Naruto said. He stepped forward and pushed the huge doors which showed a treasury room that was filled with things beyond anyone's dream: pearls, gold coins and statues, diamonds, ruby, silver. The guys except Naruto, Kurama and Hiei looked in amazement. I must be dreaming, Urameshi, Kuwabara said. Yeah, no kidding. Yusuke looked around in disbelief and was so tempted just to take something along with Kuwabara. Naruto noticed the door on the other side was locked with chains. Two stone statues of bodies were in the corner looking to be holding swords down like a knight. His eyes narrowed and walked towards them. The group were about to follow but stopped when a deep voice spoke. Look, brother. It has been ages but we have finally have company. Everyone looked around wondering where that came from. I see that. Another deep voice spoke. The grow-up looked everywhere until they noticed red glowing eyes that were on the left statue blending into the dark. We must entertain our guests. The right one with blue-white eyes spoke. You're right, we have to be gracious hosts. The red spoke. What should we do? The blue asked. Naruto and the grouped sweat dropped at this. Were these guys really the fourth saint beasts? How do I know? We need to come up with something. The red one said. Naruto looked annoyed as time was wasting. Brother, our hosts look annoyed. The blue one said. Annoyed? What is annoyed? The red asked. Kuwabara and Yusuke fell down in anime style. Before the blue could explain what annoyed means, Naruto had enough. Enough already, Naruto shouted. You're wasting our time, I'll make this short and sweet. He pointed at himself with the group. Need to see your boss. Got it. The room started to rumble as two huge figures were rising from the corner where they stood. Our order is to guard this door. The blue one said. That's right, we cannot let you pass. The red one said. The figures jumped down from the statues which shook the room and revealed themselves. They were hugely muscular with their skin each respectively their color red and blue. Their right arm was covered with scales like armor and had shorts that too had armor. Both had weapons that were like a scimitar except the blade was bigger and had teeth that were curving down. But the most shocking was that the bodies were headless and the helm of the swords were demonic heads, one blue and the other was red. I can officially say I've never seen anything more weirder in my life. Yusuke said. Talking weapons. Kuwabara questioned. So they do exist. Hiei said, which brung the two's attention. Kurama explained. Many years ago, there were stories of two brothers who were not only demons but were also very powerful weapons. Many treasure hunters had tried to find these brothers but unfortunately their life fell short to the traps. Not only that, Hiei said as the guys looked at him. They also possess two powerful elements in their own right. Fire and wind. When combined, both the demon brothers' swords were covered with energy. The blue had wind and the red had fire which blended together and created a firestorm which made the group shield their face to protect from the fire. They become known as the Firestorm siblings. The two had charged at Naruto. The red one jumped and was about to strike down but he dodged this, blue D. It the same as his brother but only this time he did a slash which sent out a razor wind energy. Naruto shot out his chain which stabbed into a random area and used it to swing and dodge the attack. As it sliced a chunk of the wall destroying it. Okay, this just ain't fair, it's 2 against 1. Yusuke said and was going to step in but Kuwabara stopped. No, Urameshi. I think Uzumaki wants to do this on his own. Kuwabara said. Yusuke was confused by this statement. He looked back at the fight and saw Naruto who didn't look in trouble but seemed to be analyzing his opponents. He used his chakra to stick to the wall and created shadow clones that surrounded the brothers and each shot out a spirit energy ball them but it backfired as the blue demon blew them back with a swipe from his sword. Unfortunately it was not done yet as the red demon sent out fire as well which turned the energy into a glow-orange color. Each hit its target which dispersed all the clones, the smoke from them covered the area. Though it didn't last as the wind blew it away. However, Naruto was gone. Where'd he go? Yusuke questioned. Chains shot out from the ground and wrapped around the arms and body of the red demon. Naruto popped out the ground with his right hand formed into his spirit blade. Before he could land a strike, the blue demon blew him back making him hit the wall hard but got back up. The red demon broke out the chains. Damn, he almost had him. Kuwabara cursed. Yes, it won't be easy to catch one by surprise if the other interferes. Kurama said. The red demon slammed the sword down, which sent a blazing inferno trail towards Naruto, who rolled out the way as fire exploded where he was standing at. He looked up on instinct and saw the blue demon coming down, but not at him but to the ground, which the sword stabbed into, and a swirling whirlwind trapped the shinobi in the air. Crap basket. Naruto cursed and struggled, but the pressure from the wind was making it very difficult. Unfortunately, it was not over as the red demon sent out fire energy into the tornado. Suddenly the whirlwind transformed into a swirl of blazing inferno. Naruto! Yusuke yelled out in concern. A figure broke out of the swirling flames and landed on the ground, which was Naruto, who threw aside his now burned jacket that he used to protect himself. Leaving him in his tight shirt, he created a clone using his spirit energy. Both nod at one another and charge at the demon brothers, who did the same. They separated and started to continuously dodge. Once EY got close back to back and the brothers were about to slash out their attacks, they had jumped high in the air, just dodging the fire and wind blast that instead hit the brothers, which knocked them down to a knee. Nice one. Kuwabara called out. Yes, he had led the brothers close to each other, knowing they would send out their attack, which gave him the opportunity. Kurama said. He'll need to find a faster way to beat them. Hiei said. Don't worry, he's got this. Yusuke said. Naruto and the clone came down with a powerful punch that forced the demon's brothers to block with their blade. The force behind had sent them skidding back slightly. Taking this chance, he shot his chain and wrapped up the red demon once again. The blue demon was about to help, but this time the spur it clone kept it back as he was striking with his spirit blade. Naruto started to form his Rasengan, but this time it became bright just as his spirit energy. Once ready, he charged forward and jumped up before coming down and slamming the attack in the chest, which dug deep and sent the body crashing where it lay broken. Yes, right on target, cheered Yusuke. Nice one, Uzumaki. Kuwabara cheered out. The sword was flipping in the air until the blue demon caught it while it flipped back into the air and onto the stone statue. The demons roared and the swords were held into the air, and helms clashed against one another, which released a huge energy that surrounded the blades. It came down in a 450-degree angle with the blades spinning like a buzzsaw. The two Narutos jumped as it came hitting down, but didn't expect the demon to twirl the blades again so fast and send out a huge ring of fire, which he barely dodged, but not his clone, as it vanished when it burned to a crisp. Even with one down, the other will now be more difficult, Hiei said. The demon twirled the blades around and repeatedly slammed the swords into the ground, which sent a combination of wind and fire towards the shinobi, who leapt out the way. He quickly shot out his chain, which was knocked away. He shot out a second one, which too was knocked away. However, this was a distraction as a third chain burst out from the ground and wrapped around the left wrist of the demon. Naruto charged and jumped over a slash of fire that came at him. With his spirit blade he sliced off the hand of the demon that held the wind blade, which flipped out the grip and stabbed into the ground. He back-flipped away to dodge a strike from the fire blade before he kicked himself off the wall and launched towards the demon and sliced off the other hand, which released the grip of the blade as it was stabbed into the ground next to the wind blade. Eat this. He punched out a big spirit energy ball that struck the blue demon and crashed next to the red one. Try to get up from that. Naruto smirked. Hell yeah, Yusuke said as he ran to him with the others following. Way to go, Uzumaki. Kuwabara pat him. I must say, your training from Genkei must have paid off. Kurama said. Naruto nods with a smile. Yeah, those are known as my spirit chain. They're strong enough to trap a demon, but I'm still trying to get them stronger since those guys proved it. Guess that means their boss will be mine to handle, Yusuke said to him. Then let's go, Hiei said, just as the group were about to leave. Wait. A voice spoke and they turned to see it came from the red blade. Yes, wait, we have been waiting for centuries, Blue spoke. Yes, for many centuries, Red spoke. For someone stronger than us, Blue spoke. Someone who can control us, Red said. This got the group's attention. My name is Fujin, the blue one said. And my name is Fudo. The red introduced himself. You shall take us with you. We can be a great help to you, the both simultaneously said. The group was surprised by this. Naruto was pondering about the idea. He looked at the guys. What do you think? He asked them. I say go for it. Kuwabara said. It's your decision, but choose wisely. Kurama said. Naruto looked at the blades while he still was thinking. He had an answer. All right then. On one condition. He said. Name it. Fujin said. No talking unless we're alone. Naruto sternly told them as he was serious. The brothers were silent. Fair enough. Fudo said. We agree. Fujin agreed. Naruto pulled out the blades, which surprisingly weren't heavy as he thought it was. He began to swing the blades and did a variety of spins with them, which unleashed a whirl of wind and fire. He slashed down and did a pose while still holding them. Impressive. Fudo. Naruto wasn't a sword master but did know a few tricks. After this mission he would definitely ask Pervy Sage of any known swordsman. Yusuke gave a whistle. Lucky you. I hate to spoil the fun, but we must get moving to the final beast. Kurama said. Yusuke nodded. You're right, let's go. He ran with the others following. The group were continuing to run towards a tower. What the hell is that? Questioned Yusuke. Looks like a watchtower. That must be where their boss is. Naruto said while still holding the blades. Then let's drag his ass out. Yusuke ran as the others quickly followed. While Naruto was running, he saw Yusuke, who was on the mirror communicator, no doubt talking to Botan. His face had a nervous reaction which turned to panic. Once seeing him end the call, Naruto ran next to him. What's wrong? Keiko is in trouble. Botan said all those mindless freaks are now going after them. Yusuke told him. Naruto's eyes widen at this. But why just them? It didn't make sense unless. The group stopped as they were now in front of the tower as lightning struck. Okay, now that's a spooky watchtower. Kuwabara said. No doubt our last guy is up there. Naruto said. Then let's go. Yusuke said but stop. Dian heard moans coming from a lower entrance and came out were so many greenish slime humanoids. Who the hell are these guys? Naruto questioned. Cultivating humans. They were once humans before. Demons abducted them and turned them to what you see before you, they're mindless slaves. Hiei said. That's just wrong. Naruto gripped his swords tightly in anger. Geez, there are so many of them, it'll take hours to beat them all. Kuwabara said. Yes, considering our time restraint, this could be a real problem. Kurama said. I've had dealings with cultivated humans before, they do not feel pain or fear. Hiei added. How twisted do you have to be to turn innocent humans into monsters? Kuwabara said with disgust. Damn monsters, you're in the way. Yusuke was about to blow them away with his shotgun, but Naruto stopped him. You need all your energy to face the last guy. I got an idea. He told the group of his plan. He stood in front of the army of cultivating humans and with his blades he started to twirl them, which activated their elements and charged at them along with the others following behind him. Naruto jumped and slammed his swords down, which sent a blazing firestorm that actually destroyed almost all of them, but more would be coming out. Now guys. Kuwabara jumped and landed on Naruto's shoulder. Kurama did the same with Kuwabara and so did Hiei. Yusuke was running fast and jumped high and landed on Hiei's shoulder, which he used to launch himself higher and grabbed the edge of the opening. He pulled himself up and looked at the guys and gave a thumbs up. Naruto did the same thing before Yusuke left. The group turned to cultivating humans whose number grew back the way it was before. He twirled his blades around, which had their elements, and stood by the guys. Guess we better start this party. He charged as he started to cut through many of them. The group had fought through the army of the slave humanoids and were currently running up the stairs. Come on, we're almost there. Naruto told them. He finally came up and saw Yusuke, whose eyes were glowing white and his spirit energy visible. He was charging Tawa RDS Suzaku, who created an gold-orange energy bow along with his clones and shot energy arrows at Yusuke. Naruto jumped in and took the attacks or deflected them with the blades. Suzaku was shocked and wondered where he came from. Yusuke, take this son of a bitch out. He yelled out as his partner used his shoulder as a lever to get high in the air. Shotgun. Yusuke cried out and threw his right fist, which fired out multiple energy-like bullets that struck the clones and the real Suzaku, which resulted in an energy explosion that blinded the room in light. Yusuke could only think he was sorry to Keiko and passed out. Naruto regained consciousness once Kuwabara woke him up. Sitting up, he looked around, seeing the watchtower top destroyed. Where's Yusuke? Before Kuwabara said S. Omething Kurama called them over, to which Kuwabara and a stand-up Naruto came and saw Yusuke on the floor, but he was not responding. The shinobi quickly knelt down to Yusuke and quickly was using his spirit wave healing technique, but it was not looking good. He couldn't even feel a heartbeat. "Come on Urameshi, wake up," Kuwabara said. Naruto looked at Kuwabara. "He's used all of his energy. I can't even feel a heartbeat." "What? Come on Urameshi, you're not going to die on me again," Kuwabara cried out. Naruto knew what to do and touched Yusuke's chest. He concentrated as some of Hi's energy started to transfer into his partner. Soon enough a heartbeat was felt. He sighed in relief but felt dizzy and fell on his back. "He's alive, but that took a lot out of me," he said in a tired voice and fell back as his vision faded to black. Naruto's eyes snapped open. He sat up to find he was in a room. He didn't recognize it until a door opened which revealed Kurama, who saw he was up and smiled. "Good morning, how are you feeling?" he asked. "Much better, all you." "Where am I?" "Naruto. My room. After you transferred some of your energy to Yusuke, you passed out, Kuwabara and I carried the both of you back," Kurama said. Naruto looked out the window and saw the sun and some people walking. "Looks like Yusuke destroyed the whistle too, huh?" The redhead nodded. "Yes, everyone that was infected by the Makai insects will make a full recovery." "That's good," the shinobi said and looked on a nightstand that had clothes which were his style. "Botan had come by to check on you. She brought you some clothes as well." Kurama smiled. Naruto smiled at this but then realized something. He was going to ask but got his answer. "You are finally awake, master." A deep voice that belongs to none other than Fujin and Fudo. Naruto grabbed the blades. "Good to see you guys still in one piece," he said to them. "When you're ready I'll meet you outside. Kuwabara has Yusuke in his room resting," Kurama said. Naruto nodded and went to get ready. The guys had arrived at Kuwabara's, who answered their knock and saw Naruto. "Finally up, huh?" He gave Naruto a fist bump which he returned and nodded. They guys went into the room and saw Yusuke in bed. Just as the door closed, the detective's eyes opened a little. His body still felt drained and wanted to rest more, but when he saw the bright sun he slowly sat up and looked to see the guys, who grinned except Kurama, who smiled. "Morning, sleepyhead. About time you woke up," Kuwabara said. "Where am I?" he asked them. "Kuwabara's room. You been out for 3 days," Kurama told him. Yusuke sat up a bit straight. 3 days. Felt like 3 years. "Yes. That's the straining effect after one uses his own life energy," Kurama said. "The school looked like a war zone, so classes got cancelled for weeks. I talked to your mom too, so don't worry about that," Kuwabara informed him. Yusuke ignored that and wanted to know the important thing. "And what about Keiko?" he questioned. The guys had a downcast expression with them looking away. "What about Keiko and Botan?" he questioned again but aggressively. He looked at his partner, whose expression showed pain and loss. Yusuke grabbed Kuwabara by the scruff of his sweater. "You better start talking now. This is no time for just silence, so spit it out," Yusuke demanded. The door opened which revealed Botan and Keiko. "I recognize that yell anywhere. What's up, Yusuke?" Botan greeted. Yusuke looked at them in disbelief. "Botan. Keiko." Kuwabara chuckled and tried to hold his laugh in, but it was too much. "Oh my gosh, that was so great." "Sorry Yusuke," he insisted. Kurama covered his mouth like a cough but really was laughing a little. Naruto laughed hard at this. Yes, he knew about Kuwabara's trick as he told him, which got him to play along. "You should have seen the look on your face." Kuwabara laughed, which made Yusuke pissed as his teeth clenched. "Come here, jerk, I'll show you a look." The detective grabbed him in a headlock which Kuwabara begged to let him go and to take a joke. Naruto chuckled and shook his head. "Well, I better get going," he told them and was going to head off. "Oh no you don't, you're next, partner," Yusuke called out, to which Naruto laughed as he quickly left. Konoha. Naruto was right now meditating under a waterfall. His spirit energy had glowed around him. After training 2 weeks under Genkei-sensei, she decided to send him back with Jiraiya so he could work on his chakra and sword skills, but will expect him back. The shinobi had been working on his chakra control, which helped improve his super strength that he had learned from Tsunade. He also had been improving his element, which surprisingly was wind and fire, just like his blades. Jiraiya though explained that fire came from the Kyuubi. Wind came from his Uzumaki heritage. It was easy to control fire but wind was a difficult one, however thanks to his shadow and spirit clones he was able to do it, not at a full expert but he was getting there. Jiraiya had told M2 that he knew a swordsman that resided in the Land of Iron, which was a snowy place that had an army of samurais. Shinobis rarely came there as it was known that they and samurais never got along, but the samurais were never the aggressor and remained neutral to all the nations as they held meetings for the 5 cages. The training trip would be in a week. He made sure he had everything prepared. The blonde shinobi's eyes snapped open and his spirit energy vanished. He jumped out of the waterfall and landed where his clothes were laying along with his blades. He got dressed, which consisted of fingerless gloves, black shinobi pants that had an orange stripe running down both sides, dark blue shinobi sandals and a tight black shirt. Over it was a chunin vest that Tsunade had awarded him as he should have been promoted after defeating Gaara to save the village. Once he got dressed he picked up his blades. He turned around fast with them and would have slashed, but surprisingly it was Hiei. Hiei, what are you doing here? Better yet, how did you get here? Naruto asked as he was confused on what the three-eyed demon was doing here. He would have thought he was off away somewhere far. Not that he was afraid of him. Hiei just looked at him, who stared back in silence. He pulled something from his cloak, which was a scroll. Koenma said to give you this. He told the shinobi, who took the scroll but was still confused. Koenma, I thought Botan was the one to do this. Naruto said, like I told your partner, I'm just following Koenma's orders. Hiei said, following Koenma orders? Never, though I hear those sentences come from your mouth. Naruto joked. Hiei surprisingly didn't have a remark back, which made Naruto have a feeling that something wasn't right. Everything cool, Hiei? He asked the demon, who didn't reply and vanished. Naruto looked around but didn't see him. That was strange, he said to himself. He looked at the scroll and opened it. It was definitely from Koenma, and it looks like his next mission will be a rescue one. He'll need to meet with his partner. He made a spirit clone who nodded to him as he knew what to do and left. The shinobi quickly went to an area near the Forest of Death. He looked around to see if anyone was around. Once clear, he touched a stone boulder and sent a pulse of his spirit energy. A blue portal was formed. This was a transporting technique that Genkei had taught him if he ever needed to reach her or Yusuke. Only thing is that he must mark where he teleport to, which he did when he was at the city. With his weapons secure behind his back, he hopped in the portal, which instantly closed. He landed near an alley and hopped on top of a building. He scanned around to see if you could find his partner, which he did. He jumped down and shouted boo, which startled his partner. Yusuke punched his arm while greeting him. Man, it's lame. While I'm dying of boredom in school, you're off doing whatever you want. Yusuke complained. Naruto chuckled and shook his head. Did you get a message from Koenma? He asked. Yusuke remembered the videotape that Hiei gave him and pulled it out of his bag. No, but he gave Hiei this to give to me, he told him. Really? 'Cause Hiei gave me a message from Koenma, though he acted different, Naruto said. So you noticed too, huh? Yusuke said as he knew he was right. Naruto nodded. He decided to change the subject. So, what happened between you and Keiko? He asked. Yusuke's expression turned into a scowl as he remembered the small incident at school. Apparently Spirit World is an agency. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Huh, Kuwabara's place. Okay, Botan, what the hell kind of explanation did you give her? She thinks I'm a freaking intern at some screwed up after school program for juvenile delinquents. Naruto's sweat dropped at this. Yusuke informed him of what Botan told Keiko. Well, I had to make up something believable to explain your absence without mentioning the supernatural. Spirit World cannot run properly if normal humans have proof of it. She shot back. But you could have at least tried a little bit harder, Botan. I mean, honestly, it was not the best excuse. Naruto said while trying not to sound harsh. Botan hung her head down. Yusuke SMI. RKED and blew a raspberry, but Naruto jabbed him in the ribs, which made him bit his tongue and complained about. Botan returned the favor and stuck her tongue at him. Now if we're done bickering here, Kuwabara, do you mind playing the tape? He told the blue uniformed teen who played as the video started. The intro showed Koenma, who held a torch of some sort with his name like a movie The group expression fell as it continued on. Naruto had a WTF expression. They go all out huh? Said Kuwabara in an awkward tone. Either he's full of himself or really bored. Yusuke said in a deadpan expression. Half and half. Naruto said, which made himself and Yusuke snickered, but Botan smacked the back of their heads. The video showed Koenma, which took Kuwabara back as he didn't expect the detective's boss to be a toddler. This is seriously the guy you both get your jobs from, this itty-bitty toddler? Kuwabara asked in disbelief. Yup, though I reckoned you shouldn't say that to him. After all, he decides who goes to heaven or hell. Naruto said, which made Kuwabara chuckle nervously. Koenma explained about the mission and hoped that they would survive this. This was a search and rescue mission, or for Naruto a rescue mission. He snapped his finger, which changed the scenario of a forest in the mountains. He went further, explaining that the captive was being held in a stronghold up in the mountains which was 200 miles from the city. He continued that the mountain was a base for criminal activities which he didn't mind, but the humans had made deals with nasty demons. The captive name is Yukina, who was an ice apparition which was very rare, just equally rare as a beautiful jewel that she can produce, which is why the criminal captured her. EY hoped to profit greatly off of her and by force means torture. The only way to make the jewels were her tears. Botan gasped at this. Naruto's eyes turned cold as he heard this. They showed her captive, which was a criminal who was a fat ugly man in a business suit. He's one ugly son of a bitch, Naruto said. Pictures of Yukina were shown. Naruto admitted she was beautiful. He looked and saw Kuwabara, who was stunned and a blush was forming. The shinobi smirked at this. The video ended. We should go now, he told them. The sooner we get there the better. Yusuke nodded and got up. Hold on, I'm coming too. Kuwabara stood up. I thought you said in a quote never to involve you again on my missions. Yusuke shot at Kuwabara. Shut up, Urameshi. An innocent defenseless lady needs our help, Kuwabara declared, which made the group sweat drop. Well, I'll meet you guys up the mountain, Naruto said and jumped out of the window that he opened. Everyone ran to see that he was gone. He's gotta teach me that, Yusuke said. Naruto along with the others were walking through the forest. Though Kuwabara was up front, Yusuke, Botan and Naruto were talking. So that's why Hiei was acting strange, Naruto said as the two informed him that Yukina was his Hiei's sister. Yes, and I'm afraid we won't have much time as well. If Hiei kills Torukane, he'll face severe punishment from Koenma as it's forbidden from taking a human life, Botan informed him. Damn, then I guess we're gonna have to pick the... Yusuke stopped mid-sentence as he saw Kuwabara stop and saw his expression. What is it, Kuwabara? He asked. Something doesn't feel right, Kuwabara said in a serious tone. Just as he said that, Botan's watch compass was going crazy as it beeped. The compass is going crazy. Guess we're about to find out why. Be on guard, Naruto told them. A man in a business suit with sunglasses stepped towards them. Hey, how's it going, neighbor? Yusuke sarcastically called out. You're on private property, boys and girls, you had better leave, the man warned. Naruto stepped forward. I'm sorry, did you just call me a boy, old man, or should I say demon? His eyes narrowed. The man growled and started to transform into a greenish plant-looking demon. You had your last chance, humans. A mouth that had razor-sharp teeth was open on its chest. Naruto wasn't intimidated by this and pulled out his blades. Bring on then, scum, he taunted, which set the demon off. Too easy. He added his energy into the blades, which released their elements. He sent multiple slashes of wind towards the demon, who didn't see it coming and was chopped into pieces. Finishing it off, he swung his fire blade wick. Sent a blazing inferno that burned the demon into crisps. Too easy. Naruto sheathed his blades back. And here I thought they would be a challenge, Yusuke joked. Naruto didn't say anything, but had a gut feeling that they'll face something or someone much stronger. Lead the way, Botan, he told her, who nodded and led them. The group continued walking while Kuwabara was yelling for Yukina. Botan tried to lead him to her way, but he had a bad feeling. She didn't pay attention as she was telling him there was no time for detours. She didn't see a wire trap. Botan, Naruto called to stop her, but it was too late as she hit the wire and was suddenly snagged up. You're kidding me? Yusuke face-palmed himself. Oops. Botan looked embarrassed. The light cleared to show she was trapped in a web. She heard something and turned to her left to see red glowing eyes. Botan screamed in horror at this. What a nice catch. The spider said. Let her go now. Naruto shouted. Go. Now why would I let her go when I plan to drain her blood? If you want to save her, you have to come fight me in my spider lair. The spider said, but suddenly didn't expect Naruto to appear above him, who came back down with his blades. The spider managed to jump out the way as the webs were cut, which set Botan free and was caught by the shinobi. Naruto landed and set her down. The guys were by him as the spider landed on a branch and looked at them. What's this? You cannot possibly be human. The spider said. Well, you're wrong, cause we're 100% human alright. Naruto said. Time for you to be exterminated. Yusuke told the demon insect. The spider shouted and jumped high towards Yusuke, who held his right fist as it glowed blue. As the spider was closing down, he connected his punch, which blew a hole in the spider's abdomen, sending it crashing. It twitched for a couple seconds before dying. Looks like Genkei-sensei's training did pay off, huh? Naruto said. Yusuke chuckled. Later in the night, the group had made fire as it got dark. Once the sun rises they'll continue. Naruto decides to keep on watch since he can go without sleep for 3 days. Right now he was sitting Indian style in front of the fire. He liked to hear the wilderness at night. He could hear the sounds of the crickets, pops coming from the bonfire. Sensing someone here, he slowly went to pull out his blades but stopped as he relaxed. Whoever this was wasn't hostile. He continued to watch out. Not far away Hiei saw this and decided to rest. Don't worry Yukina, I'm coming. Next morning, Naruto had woken up the group as the sun rose. They had continued onward towards their destination. As they were halfway close, their 6 demons ambushed them, but this was however a mistake for them as Naruto spun the blade around and sent a ring of fire that burned all the demons to a crisp. We must be getting close if they just sent these demons. Naruto said. Yes, we're very much close indeed. Botan said as her compass was reading her energy close. We got more company. Yusuke said. The guys saw more demons coming at the. Looks like there's enough for all of use. His right fist glowed and started to beat the crap of whatever demon was coming his way. Kuwabara and Naruto were slicing through them like butter. Once finished they continued on to which they found the stronghold. There's the stronghold, Kuwabara said. Don't worry Yukina, I'm coming. Determined he walked forward. The guys were gonna follow, but Botan stopped them and told them to watch for Kuwabara as her compass got interference from 3 powerful demon energy. She told them she would go in the air to find anything and went on her oar and flew. The guys stood by each other. Well guys, 3 demons, I guess that's perfect for us. Naruto said to them. Well, let's do this. Kuwabara said and walked towards the stronghold while the guys followed. Suddenly an explosion of flames rocked the area. Botan flew back towards the explosion and had only hope that the boys were alright. She saw the field engulf in flames. She couldn't believe it. Just then the fire was suddenly being sucked away, which soon showed Naruto with his fire sword stabbed into the ground as it sucked away all the flames. Theirs were alright as their spirit energy protected them from the fire. Once finished, Naruto pulled out his sword and sheathed it back. He smiled at Botan, who looked relieved and smiled. The group went to the stronghold. They opened a door which revealed a hallway. It was quiet. Too quiet. Naruto looked at the guys, who too looked at him and nodded. Just before they could go they saw someone step in their way. It was a female-looking demon with blue long hair, gray skin and a single horn on her forehead. Hello boys. My name is Miyuki, she said with a seductive tone. Guys looked at her and looked at one another and wondered what to do. So, which one you strappy lads want to fight first? How about you Whiskers? She looked at Naruto, who was confused by this. But Botan's eyebrow twitched in irritation. No way, you are a girl, we can't fight girls, it's against my code, come on guys, let's just pass her. Kuwabara suggested. Oh, a gentleman upon an insecure male seeking to own their woman. She said. Whoa, time out lady, I respect all genders equally. Naruto pointed out. I'll fight you. Yusuke said. You're a meshi, are you serious? Kuwabara said. So what, she's a fighter. And she's trying to get in our way. I don't care if she's a girl, a toddler or someone's grandma. Yusuke declared. Same as canon. Yusuke had explained to guys that Miyuki was not a she but in fact a she. Naruto laughed at this while Yusuke told him to shut up. Kuwabara looked at the demon and wanted to look underneath just to make sure, but he was suddenly struck in the back of his head by Botan's oar and called him a jerk. Yusuke and Naruto laughed at this. They guys saw the camera. Naruto took out a kunai and pointed at it. 1 down, 2 more to go till we reach you. You fat fuck. He threw the kunai which destroyed the camera. The guys continued to run as they followed Botan. As they turned a corner, Naruto quickly ran and pushed everyone down as something sped by them faster than they could see. He saw claws marks that cut his Chunin vest. Looks like our second demon is here, he said. Everyone got up and turned to see him appearing. His face was covered by a hood that connected to an invisible cloak. He wore iron claws. The demon introduced himself as Inmaki. Kuwabara charged as they didn't have time to waste, but suddenly Inmaki vanished, which confused everyone. Kuwabara suddenly jumped back. The group were looking around. Kuwabara, can you sense where this guy is hiding? Yusuke asked. No, he's too fast, it's like he's all over the place. Kuwabara said. Be alert. Naruto told them and got his blades out while the group looked around quickly. Suddenly him and Yusuke were slashed in the back but still stood. You guys all right? Kuwabara asked. We'll be fine, we have to run. Naruto said, and everyone ran down the hall while Botan flew. Botan, I have an idea, turn to this corner. Yusuke called out, to which she did as the group followed. They turned around quickly and saw Inmaki. Now you're a Meshi. Kuwabara called out. Shotgun. Yusuke blasted an energy bullet that struck Inmaki to the wall, but multiple ones still were firing all over him, including the wall. The attack died. He slowly fell off the wall. Nice shot, Naruto said. He saw another Amara and shot it with his energy ball from his hand. 2 down, 1 more to go, guys. Then there's no time to waste. Kuwabara said, and they ran. Come on guys, we're almost there. Botan said to the guys as they continued to run. Kuwabara sensed something big. Watch out. Something broke from the wall as Botan screamed and grabbed her. Botan. Naruto called out. A laugh was heard and the smoke cleared to show a huge demon who introduced himself as Goku Monkey, 3rd demon of the triad. Yusuke was going to shoot him, but the demon had warned him that he had Botan and that he might hit her. Kuwabara and Yusuke were mad at this, but Naruto was downright pissed. Goku Monkey pulled out his club and was about to smash it down, but he suddenly saw Naruto in the air with his blades covered with their elements. He may miss, but I won't. He came down with his weapon, and as the demon swung his weapon at the same time, he was shocked as it was cut like butter, and so was his hand, which flew. He cried in pain and shock, which forced him to let go of Botan, who landed safely and ran back to the guys. Both Yusuke and Kuwabara jumped and connected a spirit flying kick to the that sent the giant crashing through a wall and was knocked out. You all right? Naruto asked her. She nodded and smiled at him. Thanks. No problem. He smiled at her and looked to see another camera. He didn't even bother and just went to the guys who looked ready, and they decided to leave quickly. They ran down some stairs and ran past creatures they have never seen. What the hell? Naruto questioned. What are those things? Botan questioned as disguised. Look like something out of a sci-fi movie. Yusuke said. You guys, the door. Kuwabara called to them and saw a huge door that was closing. They hurried it up and barely made it in. The group was inside a huge room almost like an arena. Standing across from them was a huge tall man with sunglasses on. His shoulder was a small man with long hair, pale skin, and had a sinister smirk. Naruto looked at the two and instantly had a bad feeling. He couldn't sense any kind of energy off them. It was as if they were holding back their energy. I don't like this, guys. Naruto said to them. Welcome. Try not to be too hard on us, we're fragile, the tall man said. Lights brighten up the place, and the guys still stood across from the two men. Naruto could hear the conversation of the criminal scum who were laughing at the group's misfortune. The shinobi flared up his chakra around him, which blew gusts of wind. The guys behind shielded their face with their arms. Geez, what kind of energy is Uzumaki unleashing? Kuwabara asked. So he's serious about this? Yusuke said as he knew about Naruto's chakra and how powerful it is. Hopefully though it will pull through for them. Spirit world. Koenma was watching this from his monitor. So it looks like Naruto will be using chakra, very smart. Koenma said. Why is that, sir? A blue ogre asked. Toguro doesn't know anything about chakra, so Naruto will use that as an advantage, but I'm afraid he will still be in trouble. However, with now knowing how to use spirit energy and trained by Genkei along with Yusuke, they could pull a win. I hope, Koenma said. The fight, I'll take him on, and judging from his spirit energy he's a weakling. Kuwabara said with confidence. Hold a minute, I can't really explain it, but my whole body has been getting this weird vibe. It's like there's something big in here. Yusuke looked cautiously at the two, mostly at the muscular man. Same here, the minute I saw them had a great feeling that I couldn't ignore. Naruto said. The man smirked and asked his brother if he was ready, and the little guy crawled on the man's hand and threw his coat off. He cried out as he transformed into a sword. Did he just? Kuwabara looked in shock. If you gonna ask if he transformed into a sword, then the answer is yes. Yusuke said. The man explained of his brother's ability, which he said was nothing as it was his specialty but for himself. He started to slightly bulk up and an aura surrounded him along with the sword. The guys were shocked by this as his energy was shown. The man explained his spirit energy surrounding his brother made him indestructible. Suddenly a harder gust that was bigger than Naruto's blew. You feel that? Kuwabara asked the guys while he protected his face. This guy's energy is no joke. Naruto said as he shielding his face. Damn it, this isn't going to be easy. Yusuke said as he did the same motion. Botan, step back and get to safety. Naruto said. I'll try. She said. Just as the Gu Saint died, they saw Toguro coming at full speed, which took the guys back. Naruto, acting fast, pulled his blades and blocked the attack as the guys and Botan jumped back. He went down a knee as the ground cracked. The man smirked at a struggling Naruto. So the rumors were true. I heard that a human managed to defeat two demon weapon brothers who were part of the Saint Beasts. I must say it is an honor, said the man. Well, don't I feel special? He said. The man threw a left hook to the gut of Naruto, which caught him off guard and was sent crashing hard into the stone wall. Shit, Naruto, Yusuke called out. Thankfully he saw the shinobi get back up but held his body. Damn, feels like I got punched by Tsunade, Naruto thought to himself. I must say you surprise me with your power. But I'm afraid it will not be enough, the man said. Don't forget me. Kuwabara jumped and was about to strike down with his spirit sword, but he was caught by the throat and slammed own hard onto the ground, which made a web crack and made him spat blood. Looks like you'll die first, he said, and was prepared to end the teen's life until Yusuke called him out and shot his spur. It gun, which forced the man to jump out the way and above Yusuke, who used his next attack and blasted his shotgun at the man who shielded himself. A small fire explosion went off. The guys in a wreck. Overed Kuwabara looked, and to their shock the man was still alive and looked unharmed. They must think low of us, brother, as if we can't deflect a little attack. Damn it, Naruto cursed. He had an idea. Yusuke. He called to his partner, who looked at him and saw the look on his face as he too had the same idea. They nodded, and with him being a little faster, charged at the muscular man with his blades. Once he was close enough, he dodged the man's sword and jumped before coming down fast as he clashed with his sword. Yusuke appeared to the side. Gotcha. Spirit gun. He his spirit gun point blank just as Naruto jumped far back. Botan and Kuwabara cheered while Torikane couldn't believe it. Yusuke felt confident that it finished him off, but Naruto saw the body still standing. This was not good news. The smoke cleared and showed the man was harmless. This shocked the guys until they saw his arm covered by a shield. Son of bitch blocked it. Naruto cursed as they were close. The man threw a fast punch that caught Yusuke and was knocked far back and skidded next to Kuwabara. Yusuke. Naruto called out in concern. He grit his teeth and charged. He began to throw an assault with his blades while the man had kept up with his speed while blocking with his now shield brother. The man threw a kick that Naruto didn't see, which connected his ribs and sent him skidding and crashing hard into the wall again. However, it was not over as the man appeared in front of Naruto, but instead of killing him with the sword, he unleashed a barrage of punches to the body. Each hit became harder and the crack behind him grew. Naruto coughed up globs of blood as the assault stopped and he fell faceward to the ground. Naruto, Botan, Yusuke and Kuwabara looked in horror. The man smirked at this. "You're next," he said to them. Yusuke got pissed and charged but was hit by a punch. Kuwabara tried to attack but was kicked hard in the face. Botan ran to Naruto and tried to get a response from him. She saw Yusuke and Kuwabara being thrashed by Toguro, who now turned his attention more to Yusuke. She saw he was about to kill him, but to her shock she saw Kuwabara glowing yellow as his spirit energy grew. She saw Toguro toss Yusuke and went to aid him. She looked to see Kuwabara with his spirit sword charging at Toguro, whose weapon turned to a shield again as the attacks were blocked, and he connected a punch to the chest that sent him landing on his feet next to Botan and Yusuke, who was slowly sitting back up and was panting in exhaustion. "Time to send you all to Spirit World." Toguro saw something that slightly surprised him, which confused the guys and Botan till they saw something that surprised them. Naruto was back on his feet, but steam was coming off his body. An aura of blood-red spirit energy glow surrounded him and a strong wind gust that was similar to Toguro's blew around. "What's going on?" Torikane was confused as he saw this. Naruto picked up his blades, which activated their elements, but this time they were more intense due to the power that he was unleashing. His bangs covered his eyes, but when he lifted up his head they revealed to be red with a slit pupil, and his whiskers were more feral. His teeth showed he had fangs and his hair grew wilder. The finger on his nails turned to claws. "Now this is interesting," Toguro said as he could feel that this was no ordinary spirit energy. "Whoa, what kind of energy is this? It doesn't feel like any regular spirit energy." Kuwabara said. "Yeah, and what the hell is happening to him?" Yusuke questioned. "Yusuke, Kuwabara." He said their name to get their attention. "Whatever plan you have, you better make it count," he told them, and just like that he charged with a burst of speed and attacked Toguro, who was blocking with his shield. Naruto dodged one punch after another and threw his arm out, which shot his chakra chains. Toguro's shield transformed back to a sword and destroyed the chains. He created 3 clones and attacked from every direction, but Toguro quickly took care of them with a swing of his sword. But just as he did, Naruto surprised him when he appeared below him. He held his right hand out that formed a red ball of spirit energy and connected it to the gut, which sent Toguro skidding back. "Now," he yelled. Kuwabara charged with incredible speed and jumped forward. "Now you're a Meshi," he yelled out. Yusuke pointed and used his spirit gun and shot the attack at Kuwabara from behind, and it gave him a powerful boost. With a mighty thrust he stabbed the spirit blade into the gut where Naruto hid, and it came out the other side. Silence hung in the air. "They did it. Ingenious plan. You fighters are truly something," Toguro said before he fell back dead with the spirit blade still in him, with Kuwabara falling down as well. Naruto's appearance went back to normal, and he fell down on his butt from exhaustion. He breathed in relief and wiped his mouth. He looked at Yusuke, who gave an okay sign, which he returned to. While Botan was checking on him, she noticed Hiei, who was beating up Torikane. "Oh no, we have stopped Hiei. Even if Torikane deserves this, he's forbidden from taking human life or he'll face punishment," she reminded them. Yusuke nodded and they both tried to stop Hiei, but he ignored them. However, before he can go for the killing blow, think before you do it. Do you really want to do this? Does she really want you to do this? Naruto's words froze Hiei's punch as he stopped and saw Yukina, who had tears. He realized Torikane wasn't worth it. He didn't deserve her tears. He let go of the scum. He looked at her. "I'm sorry," he said. Yukina smiled at Hiei, but something felt familiar about him. Naruto stood back to his feet and saw Yusuke and Botan walking to him. "How are you feeling?" "You took one hell of a beating," Yusuke said. "I'll be alright. A couple of my ribs have been broken, but my healing factor will be kicking in, though I think I'm hoping Genkei-sensei would speed the recovery," Naruto said. "Seriously?" Yusuke questioned and laughed. They saw Yukina, who was offering to help, but Naruto smiled. "I've had worse. My friend over there may need it more." He pointed back at Kuwabara, who was holding his side and was sitting up. From there the three had looked at the scene with Yukina healing Kuwabara. They smiled. "Hey, why don't we head upstairs to check things out?" Naruto said, which confused the two until they figured what he means and nodded and left. They saw both Hiei and Kurama. Naruto grinned at this. "I knew it was you that was following us. Wait, what? Yusuke questioned. Hiei said nothing and just left. Kurama and the others saw the scene with Yukina and Kuwabara. They were happy for the two. Wheel, that's my cue to head out, he said and D was going to leave until Botan called him, which he turned to her but didn't expect a hug. Thank you for saving me, Botan said and blushed as she felt the muscles on his arm. Naruto blushed at this but looked at her and smiled. The guys saw this and smirked. After breaking the hug he left the room. Yusuke had remembered that he wanted to ask him about disappearing, but as he left the door Naruto was gone. Seriously, I have to ask him to teach me that, could be useful for school, Yusuke said. Later on, the arena place was empty at the stronghold as Toguro laid dead, until his body was moving. The spirit sword was pushed out the body as it flew and vanished. Toguro stood up and along his elder brother, who transformed back to normal. That was fun, brother, the pale one said. Indeed, those boys are quite interesting. Yes, they are the ones we shall face. Toguro smirked as his shades reflected. Naruto Uzumaki and Yusuke Urameshi. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.